We're one series down, but there's still one to go. Welcome back to Six Masters 2020. Guz and Raven bringing you all of the action remaining tonight. That first series, let's talk about that, Raven. That was pretty nuts. Kanga, so close to winning their first map, but they fell just short.
Yeah, I think a big focus is going to be map 1, which was Kafe 8-7, and it was theirs for the taking. They had that 6-3 lead at one stage. Looked like they were finally going to get their first map in Six Masters, but not to be. Sinister stomped all over that, and then the second map, well, they just never really looked in that one.
Well, let's not talk about the second matchup. It's Elevate taking on the Pittsburgh Knights, and once again, this series is going to have such a big impact on those mid standings where these teams are fighting it out for the top 4.
Really is. I mean, Elevate and Knights are both competing in pretty equal grounding at the moment. Elevate with a slight edge on the standings, but if Pittsburgh manage to win both maps tonight, for example, they can leapfrog ahead there and really put themselves in a great running for playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's such a dangerous prospect for Elevate and could put the pressure on them. I mean, we saw Sinister already tonight feel a little bit of that pressure when things don't start to go their way. So it's really important that they don't lose too many maps tonight. Here is that Elevate lineup. Talk us through it, Raven.
Yep, the Elevate lineup hasn't gone through too many changes since we saw in Pro League last season, and players stepping up for them seems to be shifting around. I mean, we've seen Vast have some pretty consistent weeks. Gold Legion has those matches where he just pops off, and Red, Worthy, Digital as well, all putting in when needed. So this is a pretty well-rounded lineup, and that's obviously a key feature of one of these top teams. And it's going to be tough for them because they have had a bit of a 50-56 Masters. I mean, they've been playing pretty well, but they have lost 3 maps, and that's just generally been on some pretty shaky performances from this team.
Well, they've had a roster change this evening. Let's bring up the lineup for the Pittsburgh Knights, Elevate's opponents for this evening. And Josh will be a new name to this roster.
Yes, so we have not seen Pittsburgh Knights play with this 5. They were using Arlo for Six Masters. Of course, the story is there that Stiggs was on this roster until Fnatic decided to pick him up, which meant that they had to get Arlo into sub, but now they've settled on Josh. And I'm really excited to see how this shapes up for them, whether it changes the way they play and fixes some of the struggles that we've seen them have throughout Six Masters.
Yeah, and you mentioned struggles. I think that's definitely a word that can be applied to both these teams. As you mentioned, Elevate as well, having a little bit of a 50-50 season, which starts to raise some question marks. Which team's going to come out on top tonight? It only takes one of these teams to have a bad evening, and that could really ruin their season.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot of pressure going on to both of them in particular, but I have to say Elevate, seeing as they came into Six Masters as the first seed, they're still hanging in there. They're a couple of games behind Wildcard, but they're equal second with Okami at the moment. I think the pressure is on Elevate because they have lost a few maps, definitely more than people would have been expecting. And they drop another one again tonight. They're giving themselves a hard run into the end of Six Masters and playoffs.
Well, we have the map veto ready and waiting. Let's see what the teams have banned out. Let's see where we won't be heading in this best of 2. Elevate taking out Clubhouse, followed by Consulate by the Knights.
Yeah, Clubhouse banned from Elevate. They've had some difficulties on Clubhouse before. They lost to LFO 2-7, in fact, in that first week of Six Masters. So they haven't really looked like they've wanted to play it since. Consulate, on the other hand, is a similar thing for the Knights. I mean, they haven't actually played it yet in Six Masters. Not a map that they seem to like to play.
Awesome. Well, let's have a look at the maps that have been selected. One, of course, by each team for the best of 2. Elevate will take us to Border, and the Knights will follow that up on to Kafe.
So back-to-back weeks there for Elevate on Border. They played Border last week against Ferox, and they were victorious in that. It was a 7-4. They looked pretty good coming into that. A little bit asleep, though, in map number 1 last week. Kafe, on the other hand, for Knights, they've had mixed bag there. They beat Kanga 7-2. They lost to LFO 5-7. So it could be a real interesting shape up there on the second map.
I'm always keen for Border. It's a map that I feel, despite sometimes being, quote unquote stagnated or whatever you want to call it, it has and it will, I think, produce a pretty interesting result here, or at least a fun matchup to watch. We've seen time and time again close matches. I mean, for example, if you want to go back to Elevate, they lost to Team Sinister, if I got that correct, 6-8 on Border, and then managed to take Ferox 7-4. So, I mean, these results definitely producing some good siege, or this map producing some good siege.
Yeah, and it was a really competitive match against Sinister. I believe Elevate had match point for a couple of rounds on that. So it really could have been victorious for them. With the Knights, though, on border, I mean, running it back to Pro League Season 11, they had a really dominant victory against the current Okami roster on border. That was actually 7-1. So it's not like the Knights are new to border or weak at border. It's going to be a really surprising outcome for Elevate, I think, on the first map. I'm expecting it to be close.
Well, 80% of you guys at home got the first community poll vote correct this evening. Let's whip up the result for the second and see what you guys are expecting in this one. And Elevate will have a pretty convincing lead, but some strong support there still for the draw and the Knights to follow.
Yeah, and it's hard to back against Elevate, seeing as they are quite a strong team. They've shown time and time again that they deserve that credit, but they've also been putting up some of those shaky performances, and it was described last week with their first map that they just seemed like they were asleep, and they need to fix those kinds of things against a team like the Knights, who are up there contending for top 4. You need to start strong on the first map. I mean, it's their pick as well. If they don't, well, they could be looking at potentially not winning a map tonight. That's definitely a real possibility.
Yeah, I think it's definitely fair to say that this could be Elevate's to lose. As we jump in now to map number 1, it will be border. Elevate taking on the Pittsburgh Knights. Keen to jump into this one. It should be an absolute banger. Raven, take us away with the bans.
Again, I'm going to be expecting Thatcher ban or maybe even the Ying. They are the persistent 2 most common within 6 Masters. And then sometimes you see a cheeky little side ban. We've seen Bark, we've seen some other attackers that is a little more map dependent. With border though, I don't think we'll see anything that strays too differently from the norm. We'll see whether the Knights bring out something special. Maverick ban is going to be pretty good because it means that with an emphasis on wall denial, you can't just Maverick trick over it. You will have to clear utility to get walls open.
That's the attacking bans done and dusted as we jump now into the defense. Echo taken off the board first. Again, intel gathering being prioritized by these teams, trying to reduce the amount that the defenders can bring to the table, which will be followed up by a mirror. Pretty standard here on border.
Again, just intel denial and strong operators that teams just generally don't like trying to deal with. On top of trying to clear utility and now having to do so to open walls, the last thing you want to think about is also saving hard breach or something else to clear a mirror, for example. Echo can be a pain in that late round, especially if you haven't brought an IQ. So just getting rid of that, it frees up some of those stresses.
Well, it's only taken us 1 round, and we will see the return of the Omega combo. Worthy and God Legion teaming up on that one. Pretty dangerous team up. Both those players quite strong. Fast as well. We'll 6-pick onto Goyo. So there's going to be no shortage of utility that the Knights need to clear here in the first round.
Definitely be making it tough without Thatcher. And then, of course, with no Maverick. Pretty strong emphasis on clearing wall denial for hard breaching. That being said, though, Elevate aren't bringing wall denial. I mean, they can impact trick, but it's not as common on border. It's not really as viable in most circumstances, if not all circumstances. So we'll see what Elevate do work with this lineup. As you said, utility clear is going to have to be there regardless. And the fact that there's the Womai and the Jaeger, it's a lot of projectiles that can be caught.
Worthy trying to place down this shield, provide some extra protection inside of security. Expect this to be a hot point of contention as the round plays out. Maybe I'll see both the projectile deniers play inside of this room. Interesting to see how the Knights deal with this. They really have 2 options. Do they go towards the triple wall at office and ignore it, or do they try and flush out CCTV? I guess time will tell. As Josh, there we go. First game here for the Knights in 6 Masters, and he gets the first pick. Not a bad start.
Not a bad start indeed for the Knights. Actually, Juicy follows it up with another. So that's Digital and God Legion taken off the board. 2 big picks, in fact. God Legion, one of the bigger fraggers for Elevate, and Digital being a great anchor player using a great anchor operator. That's a great start for the Knights there. Looks like a heavy push going in towards Office. Vast is the one to front up to slow that down and deny it. He's playing the Goyo there around that sandwich wall. But Knights are giving themselves a lot of time to be able to deal with this. And now a solid man advantage.
Worthy forced now to rotate out of security towards 90. Misses the initial pick there as he is half flashed. Shield taken out as well by a grenade, so his cover is blown. This round not looking very salvageable here for Elevate. Red needs to be mindful as multiple angles trying to hunt him down, and there we go. It's now Worthy in a 1-on-5, and this could well be a flawless start for the Knights, and it is. What a start for Pittsburgh, and it's a little bit unsettling for Elevate to start things off.
Yeah, Knights looking so comfortable on this map, and this is something that I said at the start. I'm not sure whether Elevate have factored this into their prep, but the last time the Knights played this against the top team, being Okami in Pro League, oh boy, they were all over them. And granted, Okami don't play this map much, and they also said that they were quite surprised by it getting through veto. But regardless, that just shows the Knights' proficiency. They've had roster changes since then, but man, that was a statement of an attack to start off on.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about that at the time, Homeless v TBD game in Pro League. It was, yeah, quite dominant by the now Knights.
Attackers need to locate
Looking
and
to
defuse as many bombs as they can.
maybe feed off that a little bit. As I mentioned, there have been some roster changes, which will lead to a variation in game style and game play, but can't do much better than a flawless round to start things off, so it's all looking good in the Knights camp at the moment. Still very early days, and Elevate will be looking to put that round, I think, in the backs of their minds, maybe try and correct some of those wrongs and come back stronger here in the second round.
Again, Elevate have had some difficulties with some of the starts they've had on Six Masters. Last week was
5 seconds to
an example. See whether they can bounce back here. This round, they've repeated the bomb site, so maybe some real clear issues that they feel were simple enough to fix. That's usually a massive indicator to a team repeating the bomb site. Sometimes it's obvious what you want to fix, and you can do that on the fly. But other than that, you will traditionally see teams rotate off.
The Knights not getting any super early picks on this occasion. Elevate probably wary of that and playing a little bit more passive early round. The Knights, they have found themselves in a great position over towards Eastern Stairs. Some nice control gathered by Dino, who isn't faced by a shield on this occasion, so Elevate not bringing that Goyo on this occasion.
You're not worrying about explosives. And of course, one thing to point out here, Elevate have brought the Kai this time, so much better. Or actually having wall denial, great. Frag Grenade's going to make real light work of that Electric Claw there. Nice C4 lobbed over from Fast. That's going to get rid of Dino. Beautifully lined up in the moment from him. It's a much better start now for Elevate. A bit of an impact player for Knights now off the board.
I mean, we talked about that Pro League game, and this attack from the Knights is feeling very, very similar in the way they've approached this triple wall. Fast is eventually taken out. Bit of a delayed refrag, but Josh, with his second kill of the map, will get that critical pick. Plenty of time for the Knights to work with here, and Elevate definitely aren't out of trouble just yet.
Oh, and that's the thing. The Knights are quite a sharp team. We've seen them hit some pretty decent shots before, and their general attack style is quite an aggressive bully style, if you want to call it that. Defense is never really going to feel that comfortable for Elevate, and on border, it's a pretty balanced map. We do see attacks win quite frequently. Great pre-fire from Hayward through into the player on Fountain, probably not even realizing he had a hit there. Pre-fire's coming out, another player coming from Archives does get the pick though, but that almost looked like it was bad for Red.
That was a messy engagement as God Legion gets another, so it is effectively a 2-on-4. Make that a 1-on-4 now as Josh, again, the newest member of this team, needs to clutch up. He doesn't quite see that player in Fountain, misses Valkyrie's head and will be punished. Elevate taking the second round.
Much better from Elevate there, really coming together for some good team frags. I mean, when Red was under a lot of pressure at that Archives wall, it was Worthy from Fountain peeking out to assist as well. It meant that the Knights never really had those comfortable gunfights, which we were seeing them take in that first round. I like the answer. We'll see them rotate down to vents now. And also, I think the Kaid was a good pick because it slowed down that take of office or opening of triple. And it meant that utility had to be spent on that rather than other things.
Gold Legion 6 picking onto Valkyrie on this occasion. And again, Elevate switching up their roles. I mean, last round we saw Gold Legion on the Jaeger, but it'll be Vast on this occasion who was playing the Kaid, who's on another player this round. So definitely not afraid to switch it up. They're a team that have been doing that quite a bit recently, for better or for worse. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
Elevation going to be a vertical control name of the game. Usually you will not be wanting your opponents to take Armory, Archives. Gives them very important map control. You can't really stay comfortably on site once your opponent has that. Given the fact that the Knights do have both a buck and a sledge, while vertical control is super achievable for them and going to be such a pain for Elevate to deal with if it's given to them too early.
Attackers are moving to defuse the bomb.
That is an interesting Electro Claw, misplaced by Didge. He will reposition it there on the hatch. Keep in mind, those Electro Claws essentially will need to be shot out with Thatcher taken off the board. Teams in more cases are not electing not to bring Kali. And that opens a little bit of an interesting discussion. Kali is getting buffed in the new season with a very impressive secondary weapon, so maybe Kali will see a bit more gameplay in the future.
Of course, her gadget's very helpful as a Thatcher replacement, so to speak. Not quite as useful as an MP, but still helpful in this instance, especially clearing wall denial. So far, Elevator doing a great job clearing these drones and denying the intel from Knights. Gonna have to start to get a little aggressive, especially if they want to get some map control here because these electric claws are not being cleared out. Strider isn't able to do his job and open these walls. That's a great pre-fire from Josh. Refrag attempts there coming from Elevate, not to chase it though. Knights will have that man advantage into the first half of the round.
Hayward here on the buck, looking to try and gain control from above so they get to work with the skeleton key. Red and Varsley will both rotate out through the sandwich window back in towards site, so that does forfeit control to the Knights, who now have half the round to work with that. They will need to be mindful of any flanks that come out here from Elevate. So far, they seem to be holding site pretty contently.
Attackers have located
Hayward and
the bomb.
Dino, two key players in helping flush out these positions.
For missing the mark there. Could have been big to get Dino, and actually it's going to be punished now as Dino will take out God Legion. So far hasn't had much of an impact on the match for Elevate. Hayward's going to be also making light work of this floor here. Elevate are going to be under a lot of pressure on site. And as you pointed out, the Knights had so much time to be able to do so. They had half the round to start making vertical control. As Red starts to fight back for Elevate, the Knights are starting to set themselves up for an execute.
Juicy does find himself down the hatch. Could be a dangerous position. The rest of his team lining up towards vents as Juicy does hear a player to his right, connects the shots and will eventually kill Red. So now it's Digital and Vice left to try and deny this plan as Strider will stick it. That's now a post plant. Oh, Juicy misses a couple shots there through the chassis, misses a couple more, but will eventually net the kill. And now Digital, who has found himself inside of a ventilation, needs to find 4. But at this stage, it's pretty much unwinnable. Surely the Knights will be playing outside. Clearly Juicy wasn't, but a couple more players will be. And there we go. Knights will shut down the Kaid and win the round.
That was a really great attack from the Knights. They got that vertical control pretty quick. Whether that was a fault of Elevate just rotating off early, I mean, it's great to always conserve the pick, but giving that to the Knights with the operators they had, that really was just so dangerous. And once the Knights had that floor open a lot, it was just really downhill for Elevate. So well played from Knights there. And again, we're seeing Elevate repeat the bomb site.
That will be the case. Bring a pretty similar lineup. Red, though, will be playing on the Pulse, maybe trying to gather some more intel of the Knights above, who have been taking control quite quickly and able to generate quite a bit of pressure And on towards the site. Maybe something they're trying to counter here in the second attempt.
We'll wait and see what changes Elevate implement to make this better. They did a great job adapting to the Armory Archives after the first round being flawless against them. So hopefully they can bring similar adaptations here on this. Knights persisting with the way they're playing in terms of their lineup, and I think that's great because it's working out really well for them. And most importantly here for the Knights is they're looking really confident against a strong team like Elevate. They are taking pretty mad gunfights and coming out strongly on top, and that says a lot.
Elevate again, holding above. That is quite dirty from Vast. Those bullet holes all the way over, peeking all the way over rather to the southern balcony. Doesn't really find its mark though. We're meanwhile doing a couple more touch-ups, opening up the hatches to allow Elevate to rotate. I mean, last round we saw them jump out the sandwich window back in towards vents. Didn't quite pay off. The Knights are again gaining some pretty early map control. I think it's definitely been a strength for them so far, but Digital will shut down Dino from a hole? Okay. Good night.
And I like that it was just a small hole. You know, a nice subtle one that was probably missed by a drone. Couldn't see it from the window before you jumped in. And of course, once you vault in that vault animation, you're pretty stuck. There's not much you can do besides look around. So getting Dino off is going to help a lot. Still some strong positions being held here by Elevate top floor. Pretty sure Strider would have seen that guy over at the blue bunker wall there. Get some shots off, in fact. This is a lot better from Elevate, still holding this vertical control. We get to a minute 30.
Oh, God Legion will find the second for his team in this round. Josh using that as an indication to push in and will find a pick. Or Juicy finding it, rather. As Josh now has that diffuser in hand above. Control given to the Knights. Feeling pretty similar to the previous round, albeit that Elevate do have the man advantage. Hayward again with that skeleton key. So much ammo that he can use to flush out these defenders. But Josh with a team kill. That's not the way to go about it, and Juicy will have to sit out the rest of the round. Josh misses the shots narrowly onto his next target, leaving us now in a 2-on-4.
This is Josh with diffuser as well. He's rotated around to waiting room, trying to get a position here. Vast is getting a lot of intel. That's Red, sorry, getting the intel on the pulse scanner. Pre-fires coming through from Customs, hitting the mark but not getting the kill. Hayward's found himself on site, but he's picked off from Customs by Worthy. It means it all up to Josh.
1-on-3, potentially winnable, but won't be easy. Worthy's his first target inside of Customs. Shots raining out from each player. The refrag not really quite there for Elevate if Josh finds the pick, but he won't. And Elevate will even out that scoreline to a piece.
And we see Elevate repeat bomb site, adapt, and win it pretty strongly as well. They looked in control of that for most of the round, even when they did forfeit that vertical control. As you said, they had that man advantage, and I like that they backed away. We saw a player retreat into bathroom. Two of them were around Customs, bottom of metal stairs. They were not ready to be shot from above, and that meant that vertical control was not as effective from the Knights this time.
Second last half now of the round. Both teams looking pretty evenly matched, and I guess the scoreline reflects that. It's 2 apiece. Hayward again with a mind-blowing 6-pick. I swear that's the second time he's 6-pick back onto the same operator. I'll look past that. But I mean, so far it's really hard to split these teams, I feel. Most of these rounds have gone pretty strongly one way or the other, so it's hard to pick who's going to go out on top.
Yeah, you're totally right with that. And 2-2 really accurately reflects it, so map is going to be forever giving gift here, I think, the way it's playing out so far. Might be looking at another overtime, guys.
Let's go.
10 seconds remaining.
We love our overtimes or at least our close matches on Border. I know we talked about this a while ago, but who was it? Was it Fnatic v Elevate? We're really close in Pro League
Attackers
last
are
season.
moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Yeah, they played Border twice. So it was back to back, and both of them were 7-5.
Yes. So there you go. If you're looking for a long Border game, I'm pretty sure I said this on broadcast last time. If you're looking for a long closed Border game, just wait till Raven and I are casting, and it's looking like so far we are providing the goods. Still plenty of time left though. Talking about time, plenty of time left in this round as Elevate continue to finish their setup. Quite aggressive inside of Office at the moment. But it looks like the Knights might be trying to flush out Gold Legion here inside of security.
And he's just going to have to get out of there, and that he does. Luckily enough, because Dino was half a second from being able to cut him out of that rotate, and that would have been Gold Legion dying quite solo over in CCTV. That would have been very unfortunate for Elevate, so well played. They've burnt off about a minute, but the Knights do have this control over in security room and break. Oh, the shot through the wall from God Legion. He might be out of the room, but he's going to get a pick. He might find the second, but not to be. Josh shoots back through the bullet traces. In fact, God Legion didn't even get a shot onto Josh.
Yeah.
Full HP, 4 versus 4. Worked out differently than I expected.
I definitely thought Gold Legion was going to be on top of that gunfight, but yeah, somehow missing all his shots. Josh scathes away from that one, and we'll be able to use plenty of utility for the rest of this round, and of course have a very strong primary weapon as well. Halfway point of the round now being reached. Plenty of gunfight going down over towards Office. Digital as well, aware that a player might be on that balcony as he flicks through his cameras. Bit of a stall out here at the moment for the Knights, expecting to get explosive
Bomb
quite soon
located
here.
by attackers.
There's some good crossfires here, trying to bait that through, but not covered well enough from the archives. It's Worthy going to die for free, and all of a sudden the Knights just take the round, guys. Out of absolutely nowhere. That was 4 kills in the space of about 2 seconds.
I don't think Elevate knew what hit him. They just got hit by an absolute truck there. That was crazy. Absolutely out of nowhere. PK will take the round, and yeah, that's the Knights that we've come to expect. In those stall-out occasions, a team that can just flick a switch and execute cleanly, and on that occasion, it does pay off. Bathroom and Tellers will be the final objective choice for Elevate in the half. And I mean, I'm still probably going to have to back a draw here. It's really too close to call.
Yeah, this has been a very tough, tight first half here on the map. So Elevate are going to be wanting for sure to get this to be a 3-3. That would also justify the way this has been played out. We are seeing a massive change here, though. I mean, they've gone to Bathroom.
Yeah, which is a little bit surprising because they have repeated a bomb site before successfully. That was in the second round over at Locus and Archives, but maybe just not feeling confident in backing that up once again, trying to throw the Knights off here. Very, very interesting to see how this one plays out. A very strong hold from above. A lot of utility placed here.
Objective is to defuse a bomb.
This falls apart for Elevate. They could find themselves in a world of hurt pretty quickly.
Yeah, so generally with Teller's Bathroom, you are going to be wanting to be holding the vertical control in Office and generally Archives as well, because that gives you holes straight into both sites. And of course, you want to be also holding Workshop. It's pretty common that teams will push through Workshop and they'll open up those walls into Bathroom and try to get the plant that way. Digital just got tagged heavily in a pre-fire.
I'd love to know where that was from. Not sure, maybe from South Balk? Windows, maybe like passport wall or door or something, I don't know. Bit strange. Elevate, of course, don't have a dock on the board, so he'll have to survive on that HP for the remainder of the round, and it's going to be very, very tough.
Knights here really taking customs as well, so they're probably looking to get that Workshop control, or at least stop rotates through, waiting back towards Workshop. Might push more aggressive. I mean, that's what we've seen from Knights before. They're quite aggressive with these attacks, so I definitely wouldn't put it past them to storm into Workshop and take out those players. Elevate have a lot of holes set up here, so even if they do take Tellers, kind of designed more so as a retake or just to make it sketchy to even get that plant down. But the Knights already have a lot of control around site here. It's going to be pretty tough for Elevate to be able to hold on to this, and there's still a minute and a half to go.
Looks like the Knights are completely avoiding above at the moment. Or at least Strider is with the diffuser in hand. Makes his way in towards waiting slowly as Dino shuts down Worthy. So this is looking pretty dangerous here for Elevate, who need to try and hold on for another minute. Oh, Dino will get his double. That's Digital in the bathroom. He was so low on HP, taken out, and Red as well, also on low HP. So definitely looking in favor of the Knights at the moment.
And there it is. They had that aggressive push in a workshop. They've taken that workshop control, which means they can hard push Bathroom Juicy with a great shot onto Vast. All falling apart for Elevate now. It makes it a 2 versus 5. God Legion does have vertical control, gets a trade. Red's taken low though, and this is going to be a tough finish to the round for Elevate.
God Legion's good, but I'm not sure he's good enough for this. This is going to be such a challenging retake. Red as well, and so low HP. The diffuser is down. As both of these Elevate defenders try and retake site, but God Legion is taken down. Red as well, and the Knights will finish out the half on top. Pretty successful attack rather for them that first 6 rounds.
Great attacks from the Knights in the end. I mean, that attack was beautiful. They just took solid map control where they could for free. So Customs was their starting point. And then the Storm of Workshop just worked out so well. Dino got the double to take into that. And it was just downhill from there for Elevate. A 4-2 half on the attack side is not super uncommon for Border. So we could still see Elevate bring it back here on the attack. An interesting pick on the side of Knights though. Will this cap can persist? No. And that makes me sad because I was excited.
Wouldn't be the first time we've seen some interesting trap operators from this team. Again, harping back to that Pro League match of the Knights versus Akami. Actually brought a Frost to pretty good effect way back when. So, to be honest, it wouldn't have been too shocking to see the Capcan brought out by this team. But unfortunately, it was 6-picked onto the Kaida.
Bomb located by attackers.
I guess the question is now, will Elevate be able to step up here on their attacks? Is their map pick? You would be expecting them to be quite strong here. Try and really force Knights into some mistakes.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds.
And again, this is Elevate's map pick as well. I talked about it quite a bit here. Teams losing their map picks and struggling on their map picks. What we're seeing from Elevate. Got a big chance though. I mean, it's only 2 rounds to get it back to even terms, which is very possible on a map like Border. And as a team like Elevate. See how they go with it. Digital the one bringing Thermite. That's what they've elected for Hard Breach. Of course, Maverick is banned with Thatcher banned as well. That does make Hard Breach use a bit trickier.
Digital, of course, is playing the Soul Hard Breach, joining out office. We'll spot Juicy. Playing in quite an aggressive position, has the shield to help him out as well. He's staring down the barrel of at least 4 members of Elevate though. I think his main objective is really to waste time here. Wasting time he is. A minute into this round and Elevate really struggling to enter in towards office.
They are. Minute ticked away. A little bit of time though. Around the next 40 or so seconds that you'd really want to start getting vertical control. That's what you're trying to get at least. Legion's pushing through into office double now as Digital's droning ahead. They're going to see that Archives is in fact clear. They can push through, but they have to be careful of players in armory. There is 2 there. Could be the thorn on their side. Legion's going to start making some work on the floor though, and that's one thing with Elevate. They've only brought the sledge this time. Knights are bringing the double kind of roof soft breach openers from Buck and Sledge. God Legion filling that void with breach charges.
Crossfire is still being held above by the Knights. As Elevate don't really feel like clearing lockers all the way through, leaving Dino and Hayward to sit quite safely in those positions. And Dangerous positions they could be as Gold Legion does get the opening pick, leaving a minute on the board now in a 5-on-4. Digital still with that diffuser in hand down below. To try and mount this attack worthy, it gets one as well. Question is, when will Hayward flank? He's playing it so patiently, but needs to be careful that he doesn't wait too long.
And Dino's dropped down now. He's retaken Workshop. He's pushing deep as well, which could be right into the crosshairs of God Legion if he's not careful. They're now aware very much so that Hayward is in this position in Armory. Hayward does get a pick too onto Red. Could start a bit of a comeback there. Vast has something else to say about it now. Elevate entering the final 20 seconds. Have to get onto site.
Josh getting quite aggressive below as well, using those footholds to full effect. Trying to find them entering from Bathroom as Vast will get another. It's Josh now left in a 1-on-4. Digital will get that plant down, and again, this round looking like it will surely go in favor of Elevators. Josh just misses the shots there on his first target. Doesn't have a lot of time to work with. Players positioning above as well, and look, it's not looking good for him. And there we go. Elevate will close out the round.
Good opening attack from Elevate. I mean, they played that very patient, and I really like that they just didn't overextend into Armory. They would have been pushing into such dangerous crossfires. They would have had to think about additional utility use, time use, all that kind of stuff to try and flush out those two players. Instead, God Legion just pushed up to Fountain, just worked some holes. They held the cross back into Archives, and they never actually pushed into Archives. They didn't need to. I really like that approach from them, because the Knights were essentially baiting them to, you know, overextend on that attack.
It's time for Workshop once again. The Knights reattempting that site.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Seen it reattempted once this evening, and it was successful by Elevate. Knights looking to try and replicate that form and keep themselves ahead in this matchup. Keep in mind that both teams are under some form of pressure to perform here for that mid-table, but it's probably safe to say that Elevate feeling it a little bit more if they lose both of these maps tonight. Knights will surely jump in front of them in the standings and
10 seconds left before insertion.
will very much negatively impact the season for Elevate, so it's definitely something to keep in the backs of your mind.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb.
Absolutely. And we talked about it with Sinister against Kenga. Sinister hunting for that 2-0 gives them that strong chance to be chasing a top 4 position. And I mean, Elevate's pretty much in the same situation here. They would be looking for a 2-0 against Knights, given that they are a top 2 seeded team and generally a top 2 contending team. Getting a 2-0 here tonight really puts them comfortable for a playoff spot.
Juicy with a slightly less aggressive setup on the SAS operator on this occasion. Instead of using punch holes to try and cover that office push. Red will create the entry using that sledgehammer. Gold Legion with some pretty quick control over towards Fountain as well. It's up to Elevate to try and clear these positions and be a little bit quicker than last time. I get the impression that the Knights will make them pay.
Oh, it sounded like there was a missed C4 there as well, just getting thrown out. So it's some wasted utility from Knights. Dino and Hayward still holding deep in Armory. Pretty similar hold in general from the Knights here. Elevate, pretty similar attack. They can get control of that Fountain again. Juicy's going to have to be careful because he was picked pretty early by God Legion, playing in pretty much that exact position.
Minute 30 left on the board, so we're halfway through the round now. God Legion trying to get quite aggressive. As Digital's actually made his way inside of Towers alongside Bar, so they're trying to get to work now inside of Bathroom. Flash grenades being sent out there by Digital. Drone as well to try and scout for info. And lobby control now given to Elevate. The pre-fire there in towards Customs. Misses Digital's target as the wall will now be opened. Just under a minute to go. Yep,
This is where it's going to start to get a bit hairy for Knights and even Elevate. I mean, they now have direct access to site. They could start to bait out a plant, but they have to be wary of these positions in customs. Long angles held from deep in workshop and towards vents. It's really where the lack of armory vertical control will start to come back against them. And given it's a 5 versus 5, guys, coming into the final 30 seconds, this could get super chaotic.
We often see the Knights thrive in these late round scenarios. The question is, can they do it here? Digital gets the ball rolling and gets the first. Doesn't really seem to be big impact killers. The rest of the execute hasn't come out yet. 15 seconds now on the board. They seem to be stalled out. The Knights are doing a great job here with their time management. Hayward in a position to flank once again. The question is, will he be shut down as Digital goes to the plant? He is shut down. It's now a 5-on-2. The C4 doesn't quite deny the plant as Digital actually gets downed in the end, but no, the plant is successful. The retake now on the cards for Strider, who needs to find 3. He did manage to find 1, but there's so many angles that will shut him down, and Elevate will just win the round. I thought the plant was denied there, but it's just a second too slow there from the Knights.
Yeah, that was a bit close there, but in the end, again, a very similar attack from Elevate. They never overextended, and beautifully covered was that plant. I mean, you saw it. It was a 5 versus 5 as the plant started to go down. And just as the Knights tried to push through, all those angles covered beautifully by Elevate meant that Pittsburgh Knights ended up in I think it was a 5v2 in the end as the plant was almost down. Could have come back, but in the end, Elevate looking pretty good with these attacks, and Knights finally changing bomb site, going to Armory.
Fortunately for the Knights, not really able to carry across that momentum in the first half, and we will now find the scores even for a piece.
Defenders, protect your bombs from
I
being
mean, I'm
defused
starting
by
to
attackers.
lean now a little bit in favor of Elevate. These attacks so far have been quite confident. Definitely the Elevate we've come to expect, and the fact that it's their map pick should indicate that they might be able to close this one out quite quickly here.
I think on top of that too, just the nature of the way that they won both of those attacks. Like, they're quite structured attacks that they're putting together. And it doesn't really matter what the Knights have thrown at it. It never really looked like it was really destabilizing it.
10 seconds to
I think that's really important because the way the Knights play is that kind of aggressive, in your face, with a hint of structure there. And aggression usually counters aggression, but structure can counter that.
Diffuser has been
But I
dropped.
think this is really where the onus is on the Knights to adapt to the way Elevate is attacking.
The Knights haven't really looked themselves in that second half, or in this second half so far. Even the rounds where it's looked close, they haven't quite been able to close them out. Elevate with some really quick map control here over towards security. Not even a minute into the round and they have basically full control of this southwest corner of the map. Gold Legion joining ahead for any potential flanks. The coast is looking clear. The Knights seemingly quite content in giving that map control away for the meantime.
Yeah, and playing the Kaid is so strong on Armory side because you can place those electric claws in spots where they can't just be shot from below. And of course, with no Thatcher and no Maverick, can't ignore it either. So it will be based on an explosion, which is why they're clearing a lot of utility here. I reckon they're going to be banking in a frag grenade, and that's how they've now cleared that first electric claw, which means that Digital can open up the wall. That C4 comes out though and actually does get the exothermic charge. So well played from Josh.
Big C4 and taking out that utility, making things a little bit harder now for Elevate. Digital should have another one in his pocket and will reattempt it, and that will be the case. Ready and waiting for a run out as the wall will now be blown. Plenty of time for Elevate to get something going here.
Have that good control. They've got all of break and security. Worthy on the window here contesting. Dino below with a nice deep angle through to the window, so Worthy's going to have to be careful of that. Digital, in fact, is just ready to go for this plant. He's walking in backwards, ready for a backwards plant. C4 comes out, doesn't hit the mark on Worthy, tags him low, but here's this plant from Digital. He can stick this in this smoke. And, oh, no, it does deny in that final fraction of a second, Guz.
Oh, so close. Almost felt like the last round where Digital would be able to get it down, but On this occasion, he doesn't, and now Elevate have their backs against the wall. Red under 80 yeses at the wrong time, and Josh will take him down. So 2-on-4 now as Hayward finds one more, and Worthy and Vast both so low on HP, both one shot each. Need to try bring this round back, but it's looking unlikely. In saying that, Vast gets the first as his teammate is dropped, and now surely they can clean this up. Vast on an absolute slither of HP.
Oh, no.
Will be taken down. Will be forced to try and resin. Actually, will pull it off. But there we go. GC will shut him down. I don't know what tilt. Was it the electrified wall that took him down? Sure.
Yeah, I think he tried to swing out deep in Armory and just tapped the edge of that wall and it downed him.
How close was that plant though from Digital? That was, I was literally like looking at the timer, it was so close. Definitely under a second. And Knights just managed to scathe out of that round, but wasn't really convincing for the most part. I think they would have been a bit more comfortable if that plant wasn't as close as it was. But I mean, in the end, they cleaned it up. And now they will have the lead.
Attackers need to locate.
Yeah, that really could have played out so differently if that plant went down. So just in time for the Knights there. Juicy out on the 10 bomb so far. He's having a pretty good match for the Knights. Josh, not too bad of a debut as well. That was a much better defense attempt from Knights, but as we've said, all right, Elevate started really strong on that attack, and they were pretty close to almost securing that round for themselves with that plant. I mean, that post plant is one of the harder post plants to deal with on border.
10 seconds to go.
They're going to see a Talor's defense for the second time
5 seconds remaining.
in this map. The first from the Knights.
Attackers are moving to defuse the bomb. Defender
Of course,
exposed.
Pittsburgh win this round, they will head to match point. If Elevate win, they will draw out a map 5 apiece as we continue this onslaught. That's what it's felt like, both teams going back and forth. It's definitely been a close one thus far.
Another map 1 tight contest here. Dino with the P90 contests onto the east balcony there. There's 2 players of Elevate, in fact, playing out on that balcony, which could have been a really early exchange. What's connecting? Dino looking to get aggressive, playing around the hatch. But nope, deciding against overpeaking that. He's going to play patient. Something that Elevate are going to have to be aware of. Again, the office control is pretty important for a Teller's bathroom attack. Helps a lot with securing a plant down. We saw the Knights actually elect more so for workshop control.
Play there on the breach. Actually, he's crawling past it to not get shot, but Dino still finds a pick. So that will be Hayward. Oh, sorry, that'll be Digital taking off the board. Oh, another pick potentially coming out there, and that's Juicy getting red. Tries to find a second through the wall and will miss as Dino is finally taken out. But that was a very scrappy exchange there over at the office triple, and looks like it isn't quite over yet.
Yeah, it was a little strange there at the triple wall, but 3 versus 3 as we enter the second half of the round. Worthy's pushed up aggressively to 90 here, trying to get the angle in towards Fountain. That is the maestro of Juicy playing in Fountain. He's the one going off for the Knights at the moment, so this will be important to get this pick. So strong anchor potential. There's no one really to crossfire with Juicy, and Elevator just going to swarm in his position. They will finally flush him out. Does give them that man advantage. God Legion was taken low though in that battle. Strider and Josh will have an opportunity to bring it back to a 2v2 if they do get at least one shot into him.
Strider was in a sneaky position there on his stairs, but Worthy has the game sense to shut him down, and now it's Josh left in a 1-on-3. Barricade to his left gets hit. He tries to pre-fire it, but misses. Manages to get out unscathed. Full HP in the bank. Can he find this pick into waiting? No, he just gets absolutely deleted by Worthy. And Elevate will take the round.
Another great attack from Elevate there. They hard contested that office, came out with at least an equal man advantage, and once Juicy was cleared out of Fountain, really looked in doubt. So yeah, another great attack. See what the Knights do to adapt here. I mean, they've lost Vents twice. They've now lost Teller's bathroom. They don't have much luck outside of Armory, at least at this stage in their half.
Interestingly enough, the Knights are actually going to reattempt Bathroom Towers. If they lose another round here, then Elevate will take match point. Pretty key round here. Whichever team takes it will be on that match point, as I mentioned. And means we are starting to edge closer towards the conclusion of this map.
And on top of having match point, you also have that security blanket, right? You are going to be forcing overtime. So if Elevate do manage to get this round, not only they're on match point, it means that the Knights have to push it to overtime in order to stay in the map. Yeah, this really is a critical round coming ahead. See whether the Knights have been able to make some good adaptations, because Elevate dealt with this attack really well last time.
5 seconds to go. Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Josh on that Valkyrie. Pretty good map so far, I think, for him tonight. Definitely seen players have worse first matches, but I think he's had a pretty decent performance thus far.
Yeah, he has had a bit of an impact. He also had a team kill, so that's also a great way to start your debut at this level. But look, the Knights have been playing quite well. And I mean, so have Elevate. It's been a great, tough contest. Could go either way. It's actually really hard to call at this stage which way it's really leaning. Based on round victories in this half, Elevate do have the most momentum though.
Yeah, it does feel that Elevate do have the advantage. But I mean, as you said, like the scores are 5-5. You can't really pull them apart too much. It's tough. I really don't know. I'm expecting overtime though, to be honest. Even if Elevate do win this round, the Knights, I'm expecting will bring it back. And I mean, overtime's going to open it up. I really don't know who who to put in front if it goes that far. It's really tough to call.
It is. It's a tight contest. And look, if it goes to overtime, I mean, they had an overtime border match against Sinister, which they went on to lose 6-8. And they had match point in that as well. So if they win this next round to give themselves match point and then go on to lose the map, they're going to feel extra frustrated about that, I'm sure. Because I know they've been cursing the fact that they had that match point in the Sinister match and never were able to secure it. In fact, they never got a round after that. I think it was 6-4. And they lost 4 rounds in a row.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to that match. I'll bring up the match tracker here. They had match point, yeah, for quite some time. I mean, after the 10th round, they had match point, and then Sinister went on to win the final 4 rounds. The last 2 in regulation, and then the last 2 in overtime. So, I mean, maybe we can envision a scenario here where Elevate win the next round, and then the Pittsburgh Knights win 3 straight to close it out. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, it's happened. And I mean, that's something about Border as well, is while we have seen generally the majority of the rounds won by the attack, it's not like we've seen or haven't seen defenses dominate on Border either. So all of a sudden the Knights might pull out some huge defenses and surmount some kind of victory run. But on the other hand, Elevate have looked pretty good with these attacks. And that's the difference there. I think they've looked very structured, and the Knights have really struggled to adapt to that in the middle of the round.
And I mean, one thing to consider as well, talking about the result of this matchup, is the round differential. It's an aspect that we've seen play a pretty big role in some other matchups. I mean, Elevate have already sort of fell victim to this against LFO, despite it being that 1-0 series. LFO went out of that with the stronger round differential in that series, which can come back to when the standings are even later, if that's the case. So, I mean, Elevate need to be really careful here. Despite, you know, this being close so far, if they let this slide and then have a poor second map, you know, things might not go their way in that round differential in the end.
Yeah, and that's really important given how tight the standings are. This final run into playoffs, of course, is top 4 going through. And if you have 3 teams, 4 teams, all tied on points, it gets broken down into the head-to-heads. So that round differential is the big separator when they've had those 1-1 series. So I guess building onto that, if Elevate do manage to win the next 2 rounds and they win the map 7-5, if Pittsburgh win the next map 7-3, well, then Pittsburgh essentially have the head-to-head in the series. So yeah, it's super critical to think about those kinds of things.
I think this result as well will be pretty big for Elevate's momentum for the rest of the season. I mean, their next playday is against Wildcard, and that's a big matchup. Wildcard, first in the standings. They've only dropped the one map so far here in Six Masters. So that's likely going to be Elevate's hardest match you would expect for the season. And if they don't perform too well here, maybe drop a map, I can't help but feel that could potentially, it might not, but it could potentially have a roll-on effect to that next match.
Definitely does set the stage for a really tough series next week. And then in their final week, I believe their last opponent's Okami. So it's not like their run home is at all comfortable or easy. They arguably have one of the strongest, or the weakest, sorry, schedules in terms of the finish to the season, because they have really tough opponents. So these two maps tonight are really critical for Elevate.
And I mean, talking about Okami, that'll be Pittsburgh Knights' next opponent. And looking at the standings, Okami currently second, drawn with Elevate, and Pittsburgh trailing by 3 points. So that matchup as well is going to have a pretty big impact on these standings. And again, we could see the series difference between the teams come into effect as well. So if Pittsburgh struggle here, closing out these matches tonight, then again, we could see a flow-on effect to their next match.
Yeah, and that's just been the beautiful thing about Six Masters, is all of these series, pretty much all of them, have just been neck and neck, either trading maps, close maps, some really interesting head-to-head outcomes, and that's all just coming to fruition towards the end. And it means that we're getting so many exciting matchups, no matter where they are in terms of the table. There's just so many teams vying for one of those top 4 spots for playoffs, and there's just so many possibilities for outcomes.
And I mean, we mentioned there about the round differential between the teams being quite critical, but just the round differential as a whole is quite impactful. So I mean, let's look at the standings again. We've got Pittsburgh, they're +6 currently in those round differentials, whereas Elevate are also +6. Okami as well, who are also even with Elevate. So I mean, it's really close there in terms of those round differentials. Oh, here we go, the standings. Thank you very much. This makes it a lot easier. So it makes things really, really interesting at that mid-table, and it only takes Pittsburgh or Elevate not only to lose a map, but even just have a poor map where their round differential goes down the drain, for that to cost them for those top 4 playoff positions.
Yeah, it just builds to the fact that so many scenarios could play out here in terms of playoffs. I mean, you look at that and you think, okay, we could see Wildcard, Sinister, Okami, and Elevate, but there's also a total possibility that you might end up seeing Wildcard, Knights, LFO, and Ferox. I mean, who's to say that Sinister, Okami, and Elevate are going to continue to win all their maps? Like, if none of them win their maps from here on out, they're so easy to be leapfrogged. It's just that close. And like you said, with round differentials as well, if we get a bunch of teams tied on equal points, it's going to be down to some really fun math to figure out who actually finishes in those top 4 spots.
Yeah, if you have just joined us, don't freak out. We're in a rehost. We're looking at the standings. These are updated from the first series tonight. That's why Sinister have been elevated so high there. As you can see in the matches column, they've played 10, and the teams around them have only played 8. Hence why they're a little bit higher in the standings, but they are still a really hot chance of making that top 4. I mean, pretty much all the teams, except for Kanga, unfortunately, are a pretty good chances. We jump back into the game, Raven. It's Border. It's good to be back.
It is, and it's 5. I think it's meant to be 5-5, right? Now that I'm just looking at the score.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I put in 5-5. So we'll see what happens. We could well have another rehost, but we'll let the smart people handle that, and we'll just talk about the game.
Yes. Look, I think Elevate have had some good momentum on their attacks, so I'm really excited to see how this continues for them, whether it is raw momentum and whether the Knights are struggling. So far, for me, the biggest thing is that the Knights seem like they're struggling to adapt on the fly in a round. They struggled completely on Vent's Workshop. In fact, it only got better for Elevate when they repeated that bomb site. Elevate won that in stronger fashion the second time round. And so we're about to see this happen with Teller's Bathroom. They're repeating the bomb site.
Yeah, I mean, it's a trend that has continued, as you were alluding to, throughout this map. There's been plenty of occasions where teams have retried the bomb site for that second occasion. We haven't seen anyone try it for the third occasion. I guess in competitive, that's something you rarely see. I mean, by the second loss, most teams will go, yeah, maybe we should mix it up a bit here. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the adaptations that these teams bring to the board, particularly on border, because it's a map where arguably you don't see as much of that innovation. So any small changes could have a pretty big impact on how these rounds play out.
Yeah, and it's just about reading into your opponent and what exactly they're doing. I think the biggest thing here is that Elevate are not overextending. And a lot of what Pittsburgh Knights are trying to do is bait them into tricky situations. So that crossfire example in Armory, when Elevate have been trying to attack Vents Workshop, for example, Elevate haven't been baited into that. They've never overextended past Archives. In fact, I don't think they've ever extended past Fountain in that instance. So it means that the Knights are the ones that have to come and pick the gunfight, and then they're walking into Elevate's crossfire. So the Knights have to figure out ways to try and flip that on its head and bring it back into their advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, it's proven to be quite tough. I don't think that there's ever been a time where one team's looked dominant over the other. So it really has come down to making sort of those small changes. And look, we've got 2 rounds left now in regulation once we jump back in. It's a pretty small window for these teams to make those changes, I feel, despite, it's been a bit of a lengthy rehost, blah, yada, yada, yada. It's still not a massive amount of time to sort of make these changes, I don't think. So again, it's really going to come down to who can do that in the shortest amount of time and the most efficient way possible.
Yeah, and something that might work against the Knights here is the fact that we have had the rehost. So both teams have had a chance to talk things through. And the Knights have probably talked about what they can change to Teller's bathroom. And like you said, there's not a whole lot you can do to innovate on border. There are some small changes you can make. But at the same time, Elevate have had a chance to talk about what they saw on that Teller's bathroom attack. And they can start to try and forecast, some of the changes and the adaptations that Knights might make. So it does create a bit of an interesting scenario as we come back into the 5-5 situation on how this next round will play out.
I feel like we've talked about everything border. I've been spending a lot of this time looking at your background. I must say, you have a very nice assortment of plants. I don't know, what is that statue behind you? Is that like a bear or something? I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, so it's a hand-carved bear from like Hokkaido in Japan. I reached out on Twitter, and one of the Japanese, I think he's a photographer or a translator. I'm so sorry. I can't remember what your actual position was. Anyway, he translated something on the statue for me, and apparently it was like a commemorative thing for a building opening in Hokkaido. And somehow I managed to find it here in Tasmania in an antique shop.
You can find anything in Tasmania. That is the moral of the story. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I have some photos on my Twitter if you can be bothered scrolling back through my Twitter feed.
Oh, what's your Twitter, Raven? Give us a plug.
At Raven_casts. Easy.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Man, all right. What should we talk about next? What do you want to talk about, Raven? Bring up a topic. Go ahead. Anything.
Look, I may as well go into it now. On Friday nights, it's been a consistent thing.
True.
We have a show on Rainbow Six ANZ called Late Night Siege. It's hosted by myself and Dev Mata, and we have guests on. It's been pro players. We had the guys from Snowball Esports, so Ducky and Nico, and we talk about heaps of stuff. We go over tips for the game, tips for maps, tips for operators and gadget use, loadouts, that kind of stuff. And we also talk about Six Masters and recap some of the things from esports. On the latest episode, we talked about Steel Wave and the new operators and the new house. So that will be, again, this Friday, 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time, so same time in Sydney. And yeah, we'll have a new guest, so keep an eye out on Twitter for who that will be.
I guess that leads into what I was going to talk about next. I mean, you guys, of course, talked about Steel Wave, the new update coming to Siege in the coming weeks. Are you excited for it? I mean, I'm keen. I like the rework. House is looking pretty fun. The new operators as well. What stood out for you?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for it. Something I've enjoyed a lot of is actually the changes to Kali. I think she feels a lot more fun to play, and I think that she's going to have a bigger impact, probably at all levels, but definitely competitive, because being able to play her with more comfort means that you can now use her gadget as a viable Thatcher alternative.
Well, we're back. The scores are set, 5 apiece. Has been achieved. It's good. It's good to be back. Bathroom and Tellers, of course, will be the site. As we jump into the action, it should be quite a spicy finale, or a conclusion rather, to this border match. And so far, it's provided some excitement. It's probably the best way to describe it.
It has. 5-5 is totally justified of the performances that we've had from both of these teams. It's hard to create separation in general because even when Elevate looked like they were getting some momentum, they got the first 2 attack rounds of this half. Pittsburgh Knights, against the grain, got one back, and then Elevate got one back. So that's just the story of this matchup.
Just waiting to load in here. I guess I'll talk about my my favorite change to Steel Wave. It has to be Amaru. She is absolutely insane. For those of you who may not know, Amaru in Steel Wave, the animations have been smoothened up and fastened a little bit. And most importantly, when you now grapple into a window, the window doesn't break until you literally like kick through it. And you can definitely throw defenders off. On top of that, you can actually now just Amaru straight through soft hatches. And I'm honestly seeing her or envisioning her maybe getting some comp play. I feel like if attackers can create enough sound and distraction on site, that potentially she could actually be a pretty decent pocket strat. So I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there. If we ever see a good Amaru play in the future, I'll clip this, go back and post it because it's going to happen. And if there's one person I had to pick that's going to be doing those plays, it has to be Nico. I don't know why. I just feel like it's such a Nico play.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Corey from Rogue in Europe, he was already picking a bit of Amaru. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to, flex onto that a little bit. Excited to see how that goes, and I'm excited to see how this concludes, guys. So let's bring it back to border. And Knights, they're repeating Teller's bathroom. It didn't go so well for them in the previous round, just before the rehost. Elevate had a great attack. So they're trying to do some adaptations here. They're contesting a lot vertically. They've put a lot into Armory, which I find interesting because that's not as critical. I mean, Elevate didn't really take a lot of workshop control last time.
Oh, Josh says GN to digital. That's the diffuser down, and the only hard breach for Elevate, so that could be a massive pick here for the Knights early in the round.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Not a whole lot of hard breaching duties though when you're attacking this site, unless they have fully reinforced bathroom off. But I don't think they have. It looks like they've got a player playing around workshop. You wouldn't want a hard reinforcing off from bathroom because then he's not going to have much of a chance to have a good retake, for example. So it might not be too bad for them, but either way, it's a man disadvantage.
Dino again on the P90 inside of offices, maybe trying to find a pick over towards security sees. I believe it's the crossbow on Vast's back there. Doesn't quite go for the shot yet. Oh, this could be spicy. Oh, Dino, you didn't. Oh my. He got refragged, so that wasn't the worst result there for Elevate, but man, that was a sneaky shot.
That was Vast. Won't be too happy about that one. And that's, again, utility, not going to be used by Elevate. Was Capitao arrows, pretty important and really helpful. Time ticked away pretty quick there. Can't believe we're actually almost entering the final minute of the round. Gold Legion starting to get some control close to site. It's in waiting room. In fact, he's got somebody right next to him. He hears them right under his sides. He finally gets him. Strider also completely unaware. Josh gets another pick next to the 2 versus 3 in favor of Knights right now.
Red and Gold Legion with 50 seconds left to maybe try and get this bomb down. Red very aware of that angle that is above on the hatch. Throws out a nade and will attempt the plant. Gold Legion now left in a 1-on-3 as he tries to cover the plant. It sounds as if maybe the Knights have heard it, but they can't quite deny it. And it's now a post plant. Josh inside Passport will find one. That's his triple for the round as Red will make his way up the eastern stairs and will be shut down. And the Knights on the retake will take round number 11. And in doing so, they will have match point.
I was a bit worried for them when the plant went down because I thought that would have been a simple enough denial from above. I mean, the plant was not being covered, right? Not from vertical, at least. So it could have gone in the way of Elevate, but a good retake. As you said, it puts Knights to match points. So for Elevate to salvage their map pick and these map points, they need to win this round.
Man, this has been such a crazy night. Armory and Archives will be potentially the final bomb site here if, of course, Pittsburgh defend it successfully. This could be one hell of a battle in this potentially final round, or it is the final round of regulation at least. Keen to see how this one pans out.
Armory we've only seen once from the Knights in this half, and that was successful. In fact, up until the last round, it was their only successful defense in their half. This could be dangerous for Elevate. Have to think back long and hard to round 9, think about what went wrong and how they can change that. Whereas, yeah, they could be facing a loss on their map pick.
I don't want to call you out here, but were you eating some cinnamon buns there when I threw to you? I don't know. What are you eating? I saw the picture. We have a Discord. I don't know. What are you eating, Raven? Talk us through it.
I'm not eating cinnamon buns. I do have some fruit in front of me though. I have grapes and melon. I also have cinnamon buns in front of me, but
Nice.
I was taking a cheeky grape. I wasn't eating though when you threw to me. So.
Nice. You know, it's definitely sounding like some gamer fuel, and gamer fuel we need because we're in for another rehost. But you know, we love it. We love talking. That's what we do. Look, we had another round under the belt, which means that one team has the advantage. It will be the Knights. Maybe I should backpedal on what I said earlier. Maybe the Knights will take it. I don't know. It's still feeling for me like it'll be OT though.
Yeah, it feels like OT for me, but I'm a little worried for Elevate. I mean, they lost this pretty firmly last time they tried to attack it. They did almost get that plant down. It was digital in that final second of the plant, where I guess that could have changed the way it went. But outside of that, Elevate didn't really look in that round. So it's definitely going to be tough for them. These rehosts as well, it's a bit of anti-momentum. So that could help because Pittsburgh just won that round pretty strongly. So that could stunt some of that momentum. It's hard to say how it's going to play out. OT feels like a real possibility though.
Yeah, and I mean, on that case, if it does end up going in the Pittsburgh hands, Pittsburgh Knights hands, that'll be another matchup in this tournament where a team has taken their opposition's map pick, which I think is pretty important because it means that you're not always safe on the map which you may actually feel the safest on. And I guess maybe that can be attributed to the fact that each team can only have one insta-ban, so it opens up the map pool a little bit more in this best of 2 format. But I think it is reflective as well of the fact that, as we mentioned earlier, Six Masters is incredibly competitive. The results have shown it, the standings are showing it, and this matchup so far is showing that as well.
Yeah, on top of that, you'd kind of think with the way the veto goes, being ban, ban, pick, pick, and that's it, that would be favoring your map pick a whole lot more than normal. But the fact that we're seeing so many teams lose their map pick, yeah, it just shows that it's a pretty competitive league that we're in here. And yeah, you're not safe in your map pick. You have to be extra prepared. Sometimes you can be as prepared as you think you need to be, and all it takes is another team to either bring out a surprise or just really level up their adaptation on the night.
And I guess we can talk about preparation for a little bit. What do you think these teams have done sort of going into this? Because we know that Elevate, for example, have a pretty recent VOD when they lost to Sinister. Pittsburgh Knights, on the other hand, have some pretty aged VODs from way back when they were doing some crazy stuff. So how do these teams actually head into this border match? Or were they even expecting a border match, I guess is the question as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, Elevate, they chose this map. So they would have been planning it. They would have, I'm sure, done VOD research, dry runs, scrimmed on border to try and probably change some things, given that they do have 2 VODs and 6 Masters on this already. That's generally what a team will try and do in terms of preparation. And on the other hand, you also try to predict what your opponent's going to choose for their map pick. It's different in this way the veto works because you're only trying to predict one ban or one pick. Some teams, it's easy to know what they're going to ban. Wildcard, for example, they just always ban border. Seems to be what they do. So then you're just trying to read into what their pick is, and you try and prepare for a couple of those maps so that you're ready.
I guess continuing on from that question, making that right decision on what to prepare for can be challenging because there's so many maps that could be open. I mean, as you said, if you have one insta-ban, that leaves another 5 to 6 maps open that the team can pick to go to, and you might not have the time or the resources to put into all of those maps. So, for instance, say you get a map that you're not prepared for. Let's say in this instance that Pittsburgh may not have been fully prepared for border. How do you actually approach a map like that. Because I mean, so far, if the Pittsburgh Knights didn't prepare for it, it's not really showing, is it?
No, and I mean, it was the same with Sinister. I remember in that interview with Vinny that we interviewed, I'm pretty sure he said they weren't expecting to play it. They just pulled out on the fly stuff. They were just adapting as they went. And that's basically what you have to do. You just have to play off your teamwork and just figure out. Most teams would have default strats, even if they don't like the map. So you just have to be able to, adapt on the fly, figure out what to change from your default strats, and also just get a good read on how your opponent plays. And so far, I feel like the Knights have done a pretty good job of that with Elevate.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the Pittsburgh Knights have gone too far out of their comfort zone. I mean, obviously the rounds they've lost have gone against them, and they've seemed to have moved on from those pretty well, though. And the rounds that they have won, I know we mentioned earlier that Pittsburgh were a team that on board are bringing quite creative stuff, but I don't know, maybe I've missed it, maybe I haven't been looking for it, but so far it hasn't felt like it's been as wild as it was back in that season 11 of Pro League.
Yeah, no, it's looking pretty good for them. They've had the roster changes, and it's always hard to say how roster changes affect a team. And for Pittsburgh Knights, I feel like things have gone really well for them in Six Masters. And that's not to say that Stiggs was a bad player. Stiggs was actually a great player. I mean, he's now playing on Fnatic. But some things just click for some teams really well. And things seem to be clicking for the Knights. And the longer they go in this season, it seems like it's working out better and better.
And I know we harped on about this quite a bit at the start of the season, but we have a bit of an opportunity to talk about it now. You mentioned Stiggs, how he departed the team, went to Fnatic. Now that the dust has sort of settled from that, how do you think that Pittsburgh Knights have sort of come out on the other side of that? Because it doesn't really look like they're missing a key player at the moment.
Yeah, even when they played with Arlo, it never seemed like there was dramatic changes for them. They still had pretty good form in the first half of Six Masters. I mean, they're here in the standings. They're close as they can be, really, with the playoffs. So, yeah, they haven't really been affected. I mean, they had a good win against Ferox in the first week, 7-4. They've had the double win against Kangar, and they also took a map of LFO, and that's by no means a pushover. So, yeah, things have gone really well for them. And even in interviews, Strider has said that there was just some small things they had to get over just to grind in the substitute player. But, yeah, things are going well.
Things are going well indeed as we are back on border. Let's go. By 6, the scoreline, the Knights are in front. Elevate trailing. Been a bit of a break for these teams to reflect upon what's gone down so far. 11 rounds of pretty quick fire action for the most part. Lot to divulge, and it's up to the Knights now, who are on match point, to try and close this one out.
5 seconds to go.
Quite a painful lineup here for the Knights as well that Elevate are going to have to deal with. I mean, they've got
Locate and defuse a
the
bomb.
Mute, which is going to stop that drone intel. They've got the Womega, so Wamai and Jaeger to catch projectiles. They've got the Kaid for wall denial. And then on top of that, they've got the smoke for plant denial. So that's a pretty strong lineup. And
The attacker's
with
bomb diffuser has
the
been
Thatcher and the
planted.
Maverick ban,
Attackers
that
recover
does
the
make it
diffuser.
tough for Elevate to deal with.
Drones being used to scout ahead here for Elevate. Hayward on this occasion playing quite aggressively in towards Office, a position that we've seen Dino, particularly on Doc P90, play quite a bit thus far this evening, but on this occasion he will be playing on the Mute. Early control again gathered here by Elevate over towards security, as the Knights have intentionally foregone that part of the map.
Elevate attacking is pretty similar to last time, and that is facilitated by the fact that the Knights are constantly reinforcing that wall directly on the right-hand side as you walk through Armory. So it means that Elevate can safely place a Thermite Breach there, and they need to just be careful of C4s or an impact coming out that doorway. They've got that long angle held. It's not going to be possible. Sounds like the Exothermic Breach is successful, so this is a great spot for Elevate to be. We're still a minute and a half to go.
More drones being used now as Elevate begin to scout the site. Digital makes his way over all the way to behind the half with his drone. That'll provide critical intel to the rest of his team. Fast at the sandwich window. Again, another point of interest for these attackers. Digital's actually going for the plant. Juicy, not sure what he's smoking there, but that's really not good. Digital actually fell off the plant and will now go back for it. So some strange things going down in this round. Is Vast from the sandwich window will cover that cross. The diffuser still yet to go down. I don't know what is happening at the moment. Elevate just can't seem to stick it. And Digital will now need to be revived.
The plus side to that, though, is I'm pretty sure Juicy's now used all his smokes. So they can attempt to plant. All they need to do is just cover this cross. And this is going to be really risky for Juicy on a peek out from this. There's angles being held. He hears the plant. He drops below. No one's covering from below. He can easily deny that. Elevate need to go deep now. There's only one on side. If they can take that 3v1, they can cut Juicy's rotate back.
Massive denial there from Juicy, but the round is still not over for Elevate. Hayward repositions just in time. Will find himself in a gunfight at 90, but loses it. And now it's up to Juicy to try and clutch it out. But we are going overtime, ladies and gentlemen. Elevate take the final round of regulation. And now it's time for OT.
Another overtime map for us tonight here, guys. And you know what is always a great signal for overtime? It's when
What's
my
that?
fiance brings me freshly baked goods that smell amazing. So the
Wow.
map decides to go as long as possible.
So what you're saying is that the viewers at home should blame you for the rehosts and the overtime extending the length of this match because you want your freshly baked goods. Is that what you're trying to
Yeah,
say?
look, I'll take that. I'll take that, sure. Blame me.
I guess that is one positive view of us not casting from the studio is that you can have buns freshly delivered whenever you want. Oh my. Wowee.
Look,
What a night this
I
has
don't
been.
envy the players, though, because this has been a slog of a map. I mean, this is only the
Yes.
first map of this series, too, guys.
Yes. Doesn't feel like it, but it is. Oh, I hope we never cast border again. That's all I'm saying. Every match just goes forever. Oh, I still feel like I'm casting that Elevate Fnatic game from way back when. Oh god. All right.
It does feel pretty
let's,
small.
let's focus in. Oh, deep breath. It's overtime. Elevate defense. Do they have what it takes to win out their map? That is the big question hanging above their heads at the moment.
5 seconds remaining.
The Armory Archives is what they've elected to go for first. And they won it once,
Moving out to locate
lost
a
it
bomb.
twice in the first half. Was not overly successful for them. Not really any site was a standout. I mean, Vents was also a 50-50. In general, this has just been a more attacker-sided affair.
What
So
is Digital doing? What is he doing?
Just avoiding those
Have I
free
lost
fires,
the
you know,
plot?
guys.
Or what is he? Is he just trying to avoid the pre-fires? Is that it? What is? Oh, that
Surely,
is,
yeah. I think so. I think so.
Oh.
Because, like, you can spray through that Archives door from that east balcony and you can get somebody
Oh,
on that
man.
cross.
I've seen some things tonight that I will not unsee. Oh my lord. Must be a full moon outside. I'm going to open up the window after this map and check because there's been some crazy stuff going down here on border. And it's only going to get wilder. A couple of rounds left. 2 minutes on the board. Time for the Knights to get something going here. Elevate pretty content in playing passively so far in this round. No damage taken by either team. Fast being tasked with holding the triple wall is flashed out. The Knights are ready to pounce, but Red will slow that down with a smoke grenade.
Bit unlucky for him to get flash grenade. There's an ADS right at his foot. Not sure how the smoke grenade managed to miss that. They finally burnt it off. Us is still persisting in that spot. Red trying cover, making it tough. And this is going to make it even tougher with these X-Kairos going off. He's going to hit the deck. But he's going to have to worry about projectiles or frag grenades because there's no ADS now. There's a direct angle to him. There goes that frag grenade. Not hitting the mark though. Red preventing a rush from that window. And preventing the time working in the attack favor. That frag grenade finally gets Vast though. And now Knights secure themselves a man advantage.
Just over a minute to go. Red will find himself under the pump shortly here as well. That's a Habana X-Kairos pallet going off on the wall, and as he tries to rotate, Hayward will shut him down. The refrag not there from Elevate. And the Knights are looking like they may well take this round. It's looking even more likely as Josh gets a pick. Whether he gets one back though. Oh, God Legion. In a very dangerous position, but as he tries to rotate, he himself will take some damage. Worthy as well.
Attackers
losing HP, and now the Elevate defenders need to try and get aggro here. Try and retake the site. Gold Legion gets one. Oh, the refrag narrowly misses there. The wallbang through Fountain doesn't quite hit the mark. Gold Legion so dangerous. Needs to be taken down here by the Knights, who seem to be stalled out a little bit here. Gold Legion on the flank. Oh, just narrowly misses that shot. Worthy inside of Armory, in a position to potentially deny this plan. Tries to get aggressive, but is shut down, leaving it all up to Gold Legion in a 1 versus 3, but he doesn't have the goods. And the Knights will take the round.
Never really looked in doubt. They got that first pick, and then that was it. Maintain that man advantage. In fact, I believe it came down to a 5 versus 2 at one stage. The Knights continue to strengthen attack. Elevate will rotate onto attack now. Attack, guys. Seems to be the thing here. So we might be seeing another 8-7.
We may well. Events on Workshop will be the side of choice here for the Knights. A little bit spicy. In saying that though, it was picked first by Elevate on their defense. Still not quite sure what to expect in this round. Could go either team's way. We could well go the full distance if Elevate win this round, and then this will officially be a marathon, that's for sure.
Yep, it will. And the Knights are going to be going to Events Workshop, so let's break it down. On their defense, they, in fact, were never successful on this bomb side. So that's an interesting one.
Did you deliberately say interesting?
No,
Did you deliberately?
but it's interesting.
Oh no. Wow, I'm going to clip that. Because it was an unironic interesting, and we don't. This is a no interesting zone, Raven. I'm sorry, but even though I'll be honest, I know I've said it a couple of times tonight. I could just feel Xenox and Dev just shaking their heads right now in absolute disgust, and we apologize. But Border does strange things. That's all I'm saying.
You know what's strange, actually, is that we really haven't seen massive amounts of Valkyrie. You know, I feel like Valkyrie hasn't had as much of an impact as I would have expected so far. And Dino's here on Valkyrie, which is cool. See how that plays out. But what I want to see right now is on the 2 times that the Knights played Vents and lost, Elevate played that controlled attack where they took Office, took Fountain, and that was it. They never overextended. So I want to see how the Knights finally try and counter that.
Elevate trying to gain control of Office, and I was wondering what Strider was pre-firing at here. Some sort of vert angle up towards Office. Again, Juicy playing this quite aggressively, as Elevate will be looking to try and shut him down. Grenade comes out from Red. That is a complete and utter waste. The ADS will eat that up, and that's one less he'll have for later in the round.
And it's not great to be wasting things like frag grenades like that. Strider getting some nice little holes here. Try and assist with a cross into Archives, but again, we never really saw Elevate hard take Archives. So not too sure that will work out. Red just clearing that ADS doesn't really need to, and time not as efficient as last time, right? I mean, Elevate had really good control, and they even started to have bathroom wall open at this stage. Digital is there now, and that's getting placed. They are going to give themselves a minute to get the plant down. This is where the Knights need to change something, because the last 2 times they defended this played out all the same way.
Minute to go on the board. 5 members rather from each team left alive. Could end in tears here for Elevate. They don't convert the round. Wall has been opened. They have the entry, but Josh will deny Worthy. That's over towards waiting room. Vast unable to refrag that and gets taken out. Oh, no, he doesn't. Okay. Josh will not win that gunfight. Vast manages to scathe away. Digital will use his second exothermic charge on the soft wall to gain another entry point in towards side as Hayward gets a pick onto God Legion. Trying to find a second one inside of Fountain, but instead that'll be Juicy getting aggressive. As Digital will now attempt the plan, but he gets shut down as well. And now Vast is left in a 1 versus 4, but he can't do it. And the Knights will take the map. In the end, it was an onslaught, but they will end up on top.
There it was. There was the change. Instead of those players just hanging out in Armory and then eventually dropping down or something like that, they pushed through. They retook Archives. They pushed around through 90 down the long hallway, and it worked out beautifully. So great adaptations from the Knights. A great map from them. It was Elevate's pick, but not to be. An 8-6 victory for Pittsburgh Knights.
Yeah, don't take the Knights to border. I would pretty confidently say that. I am still surprised that, Elevate went there, but look, full props to the Knights. They played that quite well. They managed to really edge out on those 50-50 rounds, and there we go. The scoreline reflects it, an 8-6 victory.
Yeah, and again, it's just emphasizing 6 Masters, man. It is a close league. It's anyone's game. Elevate, one of the top contenders, have now lost their map pick again to Pittsburgh Knights. The Knights are putting themselves in a great chance to be in a top 4 spot for playoffs.
And this is where it starts to get a little bit scary for Elevate. I mean, if Pittsburgh Knights show up on their map pick, which you would expect them to, and Elevate gets 0 points tonight, I don't think we can really overstate how critical that is and how demoralizing that'll be for Elevate. That will have such a massive ripple effect on these standings and their own personal standing as well.
Yeah, and put a huge amount of pressure because, as we were talking about during one of those rehosts, their final opponents are Okami and Wildcard. So it's not like they have any other matches where they can be like, okay, it's okay, we can get more points in these next ones. I mean, they can, but it's not going to be easy. This is their best chance to get points before those final 2 weeks.
Well, that is map number 1 done and dusted, which means it's time for a break. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Attackers need to protect the diffuser. Bomb located by attackers. Attackers have dropped the bomb. Attackers bomb. Defenders have located the diffuser. Attackers have dropped the bomb.
Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
my heart into something gold. Knew I sold my soul to the devil long ago. I rode it all along on your wave right before it broke. Time was thrown down the well, so I let you go. What I do right now. What I do right now for you, for you.
G'day guys and welcome back to Six Masters 2020. It's Guz and Raven bringing you all of the action. And mate, we just came off of a pretty banging game on border. Oh, we're losing the plot here. It's an absolute madhouse. Don't worry, we'll be fine. 8-6 in favor of the Pittsburgh Knights it was, and they took Elevate's map pick.
They did, and it was the second overtime map that we've had tonight. It was a great effort from the Knights. It was generally attacker-sided, and they made some great adaptations. They won a defense on vents in that overtime to take the map. And that, I think, overall, the big story here is that puts so much pressure on Elevate coming into these final matches and even the next map.
Well, the next map, of course, will be Kafe. What are we expecting in that one? It's a map that we've already seen once tonight, produced a pretty interesting result in itself, and could well do the same here with these two.
Yeah, well, Elevate actually have 2 victories on Kafe already, so a 7-3 against Kanga and a 7-5 against Sinister. On the other hand, we've seen Knights had a 50-50 Kafe. They won 7-2 against Kanga, and then they lost 5-7 to LFO, and that was recently. So Elevate do have VODs on Knights. It's not like it's completely out of the realm of them being able to predict this and prepare for it. I think, again, we're going to see a pretty close banger of a map.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at form and looking at the numbers on the pages in front of us, it is looking like a close matchup, which just follows the trend that we've seen throughout the entire tournament so far, where no one's map pick is safe. And it really, you can't take any result for granted, to be honest, because we could well see Elevate just come out of the gate strong here, really wanting revenge for what was a disastrous in the end first map. Try and get those points back on the board, because if, as you mentioned, they lose this next map, I can't put into words like how massive that is. They were second in the standings, and they could drop massively if that's the case.
Yeah, if they manage to get a 2-0 tonight, they would be pretty close up there with Wildcard in terms of securing their spot, at least in playoffs, no matter where they finished. But now, depending how this next map goes, that creates a lot more uncertainty, and it means that there's still a chance that they could even drop out of the top 4 if they struggle to secure maps against Okami and Wildcard in the coming weeks.
Well, I know for a fact that Elevate were the favourites going to this matchup in the poll. Let's bring up those results once again and have a quick recap. And there we go. Elevate were on 61%. So look, I mean, the draw and the Pittsburgh Knights still on the cards there. Still a decent portion of the community favouring on that side of the spectrum. And I mean, who knows? I, again, can't put a finger on who's going to take this one.
Yeah, predictions have been tough in Six Masters. I still can't call it. I mean, I predicted a double Elevate win, but now that's not possible. Knights could definitely get this one. It is their pick, so they've probably got something prepared.
Let's hope they do. It's time for Kafe, the final matchup of the evening. It's Elevate taking on Pittsburgh Knights. Let's jump straight into the action. We'll kick things off with the ban phase. As always, Knights on the defense, so they will have the first attacking ban.
They will, and I think we'll see some pretty persistent bans here. I'd say Thatcher, Maverick is great, Habana good as well for an attack ban. So wouldn't say we'll see much deviation outside of that, just because Kafe, those bans are really helpful. I mean, the Thatcher makes clearing utility hard, and then Maverick, for example, makes some of that hard breaching even more difficult.
I'm really hoping Thatcher makes it through the ban phase here. Maybe we see Ying, for example, but no. Okay, we won't.
But
No. Nope. Oh well, a man can dream.
yeah, no, we've seen Thatcher persist again a lot tonight. And these defense bans, we've seen a lot of Mirror and Maestro. Valkyrie ban is now something a little bit different here, and that's coming from Elevate. So Knights were using a lot of Valkyrie, or a bit of Valkyrie on border at least. I have seen them use Valkyrie quite a bit in Kafe, so that will take away that comfort. Mirror running it out, Intel denial, and a bit of a frustration, get rid of kind of ban there. Yeah, that's it. That's our ban phase. So I think nothing that these teams won't be overly underprepared for, at least.
Will be the case. I think the most interesting thing for me coming out of that ban phase is that once again Ying has gone through unscathed this evening, but I can't really think of a time where Ying's been used. I actually don't know. Has Ying been picked at all tonight? I don't think she has, which to me is a little bit mind-boggling considering her ability to clear that utility is quite strong at the moment. I mean, she did get nerfed and lost a Candela pretty soon after she gained one, but even still, I think she's still a pretty viable operator.
Yeah, I think she definitely has a place and she can be helpful. But I think it comes also to the fact that she's been banned quite a lot. So teams would probably just practice without her. It would just come down to a team deciding on the fly, hey, why don't we try a Ying play? And then maybe they try it for a round or two, and if it works, they might persist. But in terms of set strategy, what's been practiced, I would be kind of surprised if Ying has actually been trained into some of these teams' lineups.
Of course, if you are just joining us, this is the second map between these two this evening. The first map was border, and that one in favor of the Knights, 8-6. And that actually was Elevate's map pick.
5 seconds to
Of course,
insertion.
each team gets a single map pick, and this will be the Pittsburgh Knights
Attackers must locate
pick
and
of
defuse the
Kafe.
bomb.
So expect them to start off strong here, as well as the fact that they're on the defense could make things quite challenging for Elevate, who really have the odds against them, it feels almost, to try and have a strong start on this map. And I'm definitely thinking they'll be out for some revenge after the
Bomb has
first.
been located.
That defines certain teams. Will this translate into some energy and extra effort, so to speak, from Elevate, or will that pressure really affect how they perform? Because that's how it can affect some teams. Whereas Knights, on the other hand, they just won Elevate's map pick. If anything, that eases some pressure. I think for them, they've secured more points than a lot of people expected them out of this series to get. Keeps them in contention with playoffs, and they're just going to try to continue that momentum.
Yeah, it's almost as if the Knights are really trying to ride the wave that they're on at the moment and hope that it doesn't spit them out too early. In saying that, Elevate taking some pretty confident map control early here. God, Legion already sending out some shots and will take out the default camera. Of course, being tasked on IQ, it will be his role to try and clear as much utility as possible, but talk about utility clearing, the Knights are really denying those drones quite well so far. I mean, they have brought the Mute Mozzie combo as well. So it might be hard for Elevate to gain some useful information here.
That and Dino will get the opening pick for Knights, so they're continuing some strengths worthy off the board. It's the Zofia as well, so some great utility not being able to use it. Oh, speaking of use, that is a great long angle being used there, all the way from Cocktail. Tags up Vast just a little bit. And Knights really bullying Elevate, not able to play with some comfort here. Nice frag grenade not hitting, in fact, into the freezer. A minute to play. It's looking like it's a bit of a struggle here for Elevate on this attack.
Definitely feeling like a bit of classic Kafe at the moment. These attackers just getting stalled out massively. Be interested to know how many X-Cairo pallets Digital has left. He might not really be able to get a whole lot more done in this round, and it could make things quite difficult. In fact, he only has the one X-Cairo, so if they can't get this electricity off, they won't be able to get the entry. He does get the pick and is retraded. Diffuser dropped. Oh, Dino gets another. That's a triple. Can he find 4? That is the question. He does. He's on for the ace. Will he find it around the corner at bar? He does with the knife. Oh, Dino. Absolutely disgusting there. And the Knights will kick things off with an ace.
Look, this is looking deadly. I mean, we talked about Kafe earlier in the night. We saw it lean more onto the side of defense, but right now, I don't want to factor that in. What I want to factor in more is momentum and mindset, because coming off of Elevate's map, they would have been not happy with themselves, 100%. Like, they would be frustrated and disappointed, and they would be coming into Kafe, like I said, either super motivated or really feeling that pressure. And now Dino's just come out and aced on them in that first round. Like, that is not going to be impacting you positively, that's for sure.
Definitely some sad gamer hours for Elevate at the moment, but plenty of opportunities for them to try and bring this back. I mean, if that first round's anything to go off, it could get even harder here. The Knights can continue this momentum. Things will be challenging. And I mean, the one person to watch from now on is going to be Dino. He's going to have so much confidence off the back of that ace. A big one for him, and I mean, yeah, if you're in the Elevate camp right now, it's only getting harder to keep your head high, and once those heads start to drop, you could well see this map blow out.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Definitely going to be tough for them, and I would love to hear in the interview, depending how this plays out, especially, I mean, I'd love to hear in the interview how the mindset went throughout this series. Of course, we aren't done yet. This is the second map, we're only a round in. It's looking like they're anchoring in for a really big roam here on this top floor. They want to be holding this cocktail control as long as possible so that the reading plant is not simply just done near the doorway. Elevator going for a rush, in fact, guys. They've gone straight through. Strider got the first pick, and oh no, guys, it's falling apart here. This is not great.
Yeah, it's not, but it is a 2-on-3 now. 1-on-3 is Red is now the last one left. Dunks onto Strider, and I mean, this round could potentially be winnable, but keep in mind, Red is on a single shot's worth of HP. Josh or Juicy really just need to breathe on him. He will be taken down. They do seem to be aware that he's somewhere over towards the west here. Juicy, not quite sure what he's watching. As the cross is being held by Josh. Red just patiently waiting. He does have a lot of time to work with here. It's coming up to the Knights to hit this refrag quite quickly and not give him the opening. Pre-fires do come out. Red will use that sound and rotate around to the drone hole. Nade comes out. They're in towards reading. Doesn't really have an impact. Drone bait as well. Again, the Knights just playing this passively. Shots come out, and Josh will close out the round. And I mean, I gotta say, I looked down at my iPad for about 3 seconds to look at my match tracker, and then I hear you call a rush, and I was like, oh, okay, Elevator dead now.
Yeah, look, it got shut down pretty quick. There was a pick, and then Vast got downed, and then it really never looked like it at that stage. I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest. I mean, Elevate choosing to rush is showing a bit of desperation here. After that first round, Dino acing, talked about maybe their mentality would have been impacted negatively, and now they've just failed a rush call. So they're just going to stop the bleeding at this stage. They need to get a couple of rounds under their belt, otherwise this could really start to fall away really quick.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Kitchen will be the site of choice for the Knights. Their tertiary choice.
Attackers have located a bomb.
I just heard you play Stand the Cuff, Raven. That was so loud.
Wow. Actually,
Quite
it
amazing.
wasn't me. I just want to say, that
Oh,
wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, there you go.
That was my fiance trying to grab something from my office and just not being quiet. So.
Wow. SMH.
Exactly.
Oh no.
10 seconds left.
Look, I think for all of the sites of Elevate to try and get around back, this is probably going to be the toughest. I'd love to try and see some updated stats on Kafe in terms of attack win percentages, because I feel like it'd be lower than Kitchen. I really feel like, especially in Six Masters, that we haven't seen many attack wins on this bomb site. And the way the Knights have set this up looks a little bit challenging to attack. They're spread out. They've dedicated some utility vertically here. So there's not going to be any easy takes.
The one thing that sort of stuck out to me there was Juicy on the single wall of prep. They haven't elected to reinforce both sides, which not 100% sure on the thought process behind that one, but interesting nonetheless, and could pose a challenge here for Elevate if they try and push Bakery later in the round.
Up down clear again from Elevate, which is what we saw earlier in the night from most teams attacking this. Just to recap, big emphasis on time management, because it takes a long time to clear top floor, second floor, and finally you can start to put pressure on the site. And don't do it efficiently enough, well then even when you're putting pressure on site, the clock is against you, so you can't really use that vertical control to your advantage.
Looks like Elevate have decent presence above, but as you noted earlier, many of those Knights players are off site. Looks like Hayward is below, maybe Strider. I don't know, maybe Josh actually exposed if these holes are created, so they'll need to be mindful. Hayward's actually trying to get counter-aggressive and maybe try to find a pick of his own. Sounds like the hatch has been opened. As Elevate slowly start to shape up for this execute, but that timer is ticking down. They need to start going pretty quickly here. Just over a minute to go.
So much retake potential as well from the Knights, given these horizontal positions around site. Something that Elevate are going to have to think about. Still full HP and 5 versus 5 as we enter this last minute. Good vertical control, but they haven't been able to do a whole lot with it. I mean, maybe they've flushed out and displaced a couple of positions here. No picks, which isn't really putting a mass amount of pressure onto Knights. But here they are in Freezer Guards. They're potentially ready to jump in and try and get this plant down.
30 seconds on the board. Digital, with that diffuser in hand, will make his way over towards the bench and will attempt it. Fast trying to flash out as Gold Legion gets the first pick. Smoke could potentially disrupt the plant, but Digital will stick it. Actually still full HP, so the smoke not really helping in that regard, as more frags will come out. Plenty of time here for the retake. Dino gets super aggressive. He's on fire. He's going 7-1. Will he go 8-1? He misses the shot straight in towards Freezer. Hayward is punished as a result. It's now 2-on-3. Dino needs to hit these shots. The Strider does get one. The pre-fire from Dino will eventually come off, but now it is a 2-on-1 in favor of the Knights. Make that a 1-on-1. Red now left above to try and cover it. This is a very strong position. He knows that the player's above and he's trying to bait it, but there's nothing that Strider can do. He's forced to try and kill him, but he doesn't leave enough time for that counter defuse. And easy as you'd like, Red will pop his head and Elevate will take the round.
Ended up being quite a good execute from Elevate. I mean, not a whole lot really worked out or worked favorably in terms of the way they set themselves up for that. They did manage to clear out that section of the kitchen so that they could get the plant down. I really think that comes down to more of a failure of Knights to deny that. They had a lot of positions horizontally to be able to retake back into kitchen. But never really got there. Looked close when Dino got that player in Freezer, the Ash, but that vertical play from Red, too strong in the end.
Kitchen will again be attempted by the Knights. Vigil being brought to the board by Juicy via a 6th pick. Let's keep an eye on him roaming and maybe trying to disrupt a bit more time above. It seemed like Elevate had pretty free range vertically for a lot of that round, so maybe the Knights will try and slow it down a little bit here.
So, saw some interesting holes there in towards Bakery. Maybe trying to play more aggressive. One thing that you suggested was maybe they'll play more aggressive vertically, which I thought they were going to try and do last time. I mean, I saw them chucking mute jammers down and other various setups to help them defend that second floor, but they never really contested it. You see here on top floor as the Vigil, maybe that's exactly what he's going to do.
He's playing over towards Cocktail at the moment. His role here, not necessarily to find kills, but waste as much time as possible. Dino with some interesting reinforcements. Side of reading as well, maybe to try and cut off the rotate. Strider as well above, so definite shake up here from the Knights in this round.
Juicy's still playing around Cocktail as well, so he's really hard dedicating this. Probably just deciding he wants to be able to shoot a couple of drones before he drops. They're going to start to get that Vigil static as well. And they're hearing the gunshots. So they should be very much aware now that drone has spotted him. He's going to be spotted dropping. So very much aware that he's not on that top floor anymore. There is heavy contest now on this second floor. Strider playing Dino in reading there. This will be a bit tougher for Elevate to clear out.
Dino and Juicy now tag teaming inside of reading as Red. Putting them under some pressure with the vertical presence. Pings are out, but they're a little bit delayed and he can't find the pick. Elevate investing a lot of time here trying to hunt down these roamers, and it may well get to the point where they ignore them and prepare for the retake even.
That's just, again, that thing about the top-down clear, especially if it's contested, is it takes so much time. Worthy finally does get the opening kill onto Strider, so it's a good pick. But we're under a minute here. They haven't had a chance to put a lot of vertical pressure onto site at all like they had last time. I mean, there are freer rotates back to site if they get this control, but regardless, it's still going to be tough.
Juicy in a powerful position as Dino gets taken down. It's really up to him to find these picks, but they know where he is. The pre-fire will shut him down and Elevate. They're starting to look pretty good here. Hayward and Josh left in a 2-on-5. They have 40 seconds to work with here. And at least 40 seconds to defend. Elevate will be trying to capitalize on the time they have left as Hayward will spray through the wall. Doesn't net a kill. Now rotate back in towards side as Josh finds one. They find another here. It could well be winnable. Hayward, with that in the back of his mind, will head back up red. There is a player holding this rotate. I believe it's got Legion to the left. He doesn't look the right way. He's lucky to survive and will actually head all the way to the top floor. Elevate will need to be mindful of that as they go for the execute. Josh gets another. Just spraying them down with the bullet hose. Almost finds the second and doesn't in the end. Fast will now need to go for the plan. He's forced to stick it. Only a couple of seconds left. Now Elevate will have to watch his entry. Can he deny it? That is the question. Will he make it there in time? No. They cover it just in the final seconds, and Elevate will take the round.
Ooh, just in time. I reckon it was a call out from the planter there here in the wire. Really could have gone in the way of the Knights. That was, yeah, that was tough. But here we are, guys. 2-2. Elevate have got last couple of rounds in a row. Feeling similar to Border, you know, it's neck and neck again. I kind of forget overtime vibes already.
Oh, big call, big call. Man, kind of feeling the same, but I don't know. Again, it's pretty challenging to gauge. I mean, you could even say if Elevate take the next round or two that they're looking stronger, which again just goes against the whole. What's the word? I can't find the word. I'm trying to think about. Logic? I'll go with logic. Goes against the whole logic, I guess, of a map pick. Because keep in mind that this is the Knights' map of choice. And if Elevate have the edge after their attacking half, then that's pretty crazy.
For Kafe, yeah. But I mean, on top of that, Elevate did lose their map pick. So it's hard to say what that actually counts for. Right now, though, Elevate look like they've really tightened some things up with their attacks. I mean, both those attacks onto Kitchen had some like really good teamwork, especially the way they cleared that roam in that previous attack. They were always together. There was always a refrag or trade opportunity at worst, and they actually ended up doing it relatively scot-free until about that 5 versus 2, I believe it was. But even then, as they dropped a site, they did it together. So teamwork pulling them through, and maybe that is just what they lacked on Bordeaux, some of that tighter teamwork.
Pretty interesting Electro Claw placement there from Dino. Great work for the Observer, finding that one. Quite spicy. Placing it down below will make it more challenging to take out. Unless, of course, Elevate do send a player to that second floor. Again, we are going to see the Knights bring the Mute Mozzie combo. And Jaeger as well. Interestingly enough, electing not to bring Wamai, we often see him played over towards Pixel, but it doesn't look like the Knights have invested really anything over on that side of the map.
Probably not as much. Us looking like he's gonna drone out second floor. Maybe they're worried about vertical roam here. Hatch is open in Piano to allow that rotate through, but in fact, second floor is clear. Looks like first floor is clear as well from what we can see of outlines. Josh is the lowest player for Knights on the White Stairs platform. Nothing too dramatic from the Knights, and Elevate have burnt a lot of time already just figuring this out. Maybe they're actually changing their push a bit. I mean, we see Vast and God Legion in reading, clearing utility.
Oh, this could be a big nade if it bounces off the wall. Not quite finding its target though. Strider will scathe away. Just over 50 HP left in the bank. Both Digital and Red are repelling on those windows. Gold Legion below. Could be in a great position to clear out that Electro Claw that was placed earlier if he hasn't already. Strider getting that first pick does drop the diffuser though, and
Attackers have recovered their
that will make things a little bit challenging now for Elevate. Stalled out as they recollect it, and now only have a minute to go.
This is a very Kanga-esque push. I mean, we talked about it earlier, that they had tried to orchestrate this like cocktail-only push. That's essentially what we're seeing here from Elevate, and it's not really working out that great. They've done a bit of damage, but they're the ones losing players. They're down 5-3 man advantage, and they've only got 35 seconds now to get something happening on site.
Vast just struggling to get anything going from below is finally punished, and now it's Red and God Legion left with 30 seconds on the board to try and get something going, and it's proving to be quite challenging. Red's still in these windows probing for a kill, but can't quite find it as Josh will shut down God Legion. Dino will finish things off, and the Knights will take the round.
I mean, another strong defense on Bar Cocktail for the Knights there. They won round number 1. On the back of that Dino ace, this time it was a bit more spread, but dominant fashion nonetheless. Means they're going to end up on reading for their final defense round. Last time they played it, they won. So we'll see whether Elevate can bring out some good adaptation here and get a 3-3 half, which honestly wouldn't be that bad.
Rating in 5 place will be the final round of the half, where we see either the scores even out or the Knights take the lead. In any case, it's shaping up to be yet another closer map between these two. A lot on the line here. The Knights trying to really extend what they've already established this evening and gain 6 points will be massive for their campaign, trying to make the playoffs. On the other hand, Elevate desperately trying not to lose this map, because that will really compromise their run for the rest of the season. So a lot to play for here on both sides.
5 seconds to go.
Stakes are high, that's for sure. Last round of defense, we'll see what the Knights have in their pocket. Wouldn't even be too surprised if they pull out some extra cheeky aggression. Dino looks like he's keen for it. Still down there in the White Stairs section. Maybe looking to hard contest around that doorway. Worthy's going to see that from a drone though. It means he's going to bail away, not going to risk it any longer. Could stall out, elevate a little bit. Something they'll have to think about, whether he's still hanging around there as they push up. Given that it's reading and dining, they'll just push top down. And there's not as much contesting on the west side of the building. Just seeing Hayward and Josh there in Cocktail. That's the vertical control that the Knights have decided to hold for now.
Pretty strong presence below here, Strider and Dino. Vast has the perfect drone to watch both of them though, and this could spell disaster if it isn't spotted. I think maybe Strider shot it then. A little bit hard to tell, but definitely be key in this round if he did.
Bomb located by attackers.
Both these guys just sitting and waiting for Elevate to make their move.
Wait, make their move they did. They actually found Hayward. That was one of the cocktail positions. If this C4 doesn't hit the mark, that's going to be 2 C4s totally wasted by the Knights. Surely God Legion's going to be able to spot that out with the scanner. He does. He shoots it. So that's big from Elevate. Red tags up Strider through the floor. This is looking a bit better here from Elevate. They're trying to progress across to get this cocktail control, though, as time has ticked past the halfway mark of the round. Have to get a move on and start putting more pressure on the site and flush out these positions in reading.
Aggressive, they will get over towards cocktail. Josh is still just sitting and waiting and will find one. All that comes out that is in this position. Pre-fires to follow, but Josh isn't taken out yet. Trying to again find another pick above here sneakily, and it looks like he might. Oh, no, that's actually Juicy from below. So Elevate just falling into these traps as Vast will finally even out that man count. Josh, still yet to be taken out, is finally there by Vast, leaving it now in a 3-on-2.
Does, but it's Dino and Juicy, 2 players that have been playing really well for the Knights tonight. They're both on full HP as well. And Juicy just total lack of use of this vertical pressure. They're sitting in strong positions. Dino might even be able to find a really easy pick here through the floor. That Ash is low HP. He's going to take one shot from this TCSG in order to get it. Oh, he's tagged though. In fact, he's using the AUG, but even still, it's not going to take much.
Oh.
And that pre-fire from Worthy doesn't work out, guys. 10 seconds. Plant needs to go down.
Dino going absolutely massive, leaves it now in a 1-on-1. Digital being lit up, knows where Juicy is, but can he find him? That is the question. Juicy whips out the shotgun and will get the final kill. The Knights, with a confident conclusion there to the first half, position themselves quite nicely heading into the second.
Yep, 4-2 half on defense. Pretty good for Kafe. I mean, Elevate had a chance there. 3-3 was within reach. It just slipped away. But it's what it's all about. I mean, Border, we saw them bring it back. It was 4-2 against them. They brought it back 2 rounds in a row straight away. It went 4-4. I think that's really great foreshadowing to what we are probably going to see on Kafe, given the way that the defense usually plays out.
Elevate looking to try and crawl this one back. Being on the defensive side for Kafe, it's definitely doable. Question is their head game strong enough to be able to achieve that? Surely it's been compromised to some extent coming off the back of that border loss and struggling at times here on Kafe so far. The Knights, on the other hand, will be really looking to carry over that momentum and really push hard for this very first attack. Try and really pin Elevate up against the wall.
To quickly touch on the scoreboard as well. I mean, 2 things to stand out for me. Dino's having a big map here, 11-4 from that first half. Hayward, uncharacteristically, is actually on a donut. I feel like that's really not that common for the Knights. He's really struggled to get a pick.
Could well be the case, playing IQ on this occasion. Looks as if the Knights are positioning for a more traditional Western take, as you mentioned earlier. Elevate, on occasion, opted more for that Kanga-esque Eastern take. Mixed success. The Knights will head some drones in, try and find where these players are located. They will be greeted by Worthy playing over towards Pixel, but again, it looks like he's going to fall back, and there's really not a whole lot of utility holding that part of the map, which is a bit of a contrast to most Kafe games.
I think a strong position to hold is that washroom. Minute burned away. Dino's taken Cigar. No shield in Pixel, as you said. Pixel, great position. Washroom play. I'm kind of curious how this is going to play out, because, I mean, if anything, this just really accelerates the way that the Knights will get really important map control. Elevate are going to have to be ready for some big fights here, because they're going to have to withstand a lot of time and a lot of pressure from the Knights in this attack.
All bunched up inside of shop and lounge. Not quite sure what those firebolts are really trying to achieve there, but maybe attempting to get them inside of bathroom. I'm not too sure, but either way, they won't be effective. That C4 will be effective though. That's Vast taking down the Danger Man in Dino, which is not the start the Knights would have liked.
God Legion was traded out though, so it's still a 4 versus 4. Time has ticked away. That C4 did stall them out a little bit. They're not able to really get control of backstore here. They've got Strider on the hard breach, but without clearing those electric claws, not going to be able to get that wall open. And that means they're going to have to funnel through Cigar or down the bar and down White Hallway, which is quite comfortably covered right now by Elevate.
Strider is the man with the diffuser in hand, the player that will need to be covered by the remaining 3 members of the Knights as they look to start setting up for this execute. Barbed wire taken out of the way. They try and clear the passage now for Strider. Oh, that could be a very effective smoke. He actually makes his way all the way over to an unusual plant spot over towards the northwest. The question is, will they be able to cover it? Strider is seemingly trying to stick it. Hayward gets that pick. That's his triple for this round, so that donut is no more. Fast though, he gets one back, and it's up to the Knights to really try and get someone on the roof here. We've been critical of Elevate in the past, struggling in this position. And it looks like the Knights will put someone on the roof. So this round surely is unlosable for the Knights as Vast will be taken down. That's his quad for the round. Will he get the ace from 0 to hero? That is the question. No, he will be shut down, and now Worthy is left in a 1 versus 2. There's a player at the top of White and a player on the skyline. He only has 10 seconds left. Absolutely nothing he can do at that stage, and the Knights will take the round.
Great attack. I love the smoke bait from those guys. It looked like it was going to be such an obvious plant at the trash bags there next to the back store door. But no, they ran straight back across, more towards, you would call it like New Hatch default. But it was a bit of an innovative plant spot. It wasn't really anywhere that someone would normally plant. And Elevate fell for that bait. So beautifully executed from Knights. And now they're actually up 2-5. And that really changes things here. Losing that first defense puts more pressure on Elevate, and it means that the Knights are 1 round away from forcing Elevate to have to push it to overtime.
Kitchen. That's where we'll be heading for round number 8.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as
Just
many
like that got
bombs as
played
they can.
twice in the first half, and it was won both times by Elevate, in fact. I mean, you could say that they have some good form heading in here to round number 8. You'd hope if their attacks are strong, that their defense would be equally as good. I guess the next few minutes will tell us if that's the case.
It's got to think that the pressure has got to be stacking on Elevate right now. Given their positioning and expectations on them and what this means to if they lose both maps tonight. That's got to be weighing on them. It has to be. And the Knights are just stepping up to the occasion,
Attackers must locate
really
and
making a
defuse
case for
bombs.
why they have a solid chance to finish top 4.
Gold Legion over towards Cocktail Bulk. Quite an aggressive position. Keep in mind that they are defending Kitchen, which is the bottom floor on this site. Maybe as well, playing above. It does look like the Knights will try and clear out these roamers though, so keep an eye out for that. Elevate with less utility placed above though, so it could definitely pose a challenge.
C4 there. God Legion, I believe. Almost took out Hayward, but no, not to be. Still on the hunt. There's a drone that's not able to get through. Does see the edge though. God Legion should be aware he's been spotted. Not sure why Hayward continued to keep droning him because he could have saved that drone for better intel, but anyway. This is a solid roam here from Elevate onto the kitchen. And Dino actually opens it up. It's Worthy down. This could be it, guys. Knights could be moving to match point after this as Dino finds a double.
Time for Gold Legion to step up, but he gets concussed. His position revealed. He looks the wrong way and is shut down. Dino with a triple. This man cannot be stopped. Going 14 and 5 so far.
Located a bomb.
It's been massive. for Dino so far. Red and Digital now left in a 2-on-5. Digital in a position to potentially retake up white, but he's going to be shut down as well. That is the quad kill for Dino. He's on for yet another ace here this evening.
Bomb has been
He
located.
will have to find red. He is playing in towards site. In fact, he's all the way over at prep room. Dino, I'm sure, will be very eager to lead this attack in this double door. Shots are raining out there as they try and enter, and he is shut down, but Juicy will steal it. Either way, it's a flawless round for the Knights, and they will find themselves on match point. No, they
Yeah,
won't find
guys.
themselves on match point. No, my
Yeah, they
God,
will.
no. Oh, no, I did bad maths. Oh, stop. Oh, they are on match point. Oh, they are.
Yes,
Okay.
they are. No,
I'm
this
even
is-
worse.
This is gonna be
I'm confusing
nah, 'cause
myself
you
even
did,
more.
you did good math and then you did bad math. So you know what? That's a coin in the bad math jar. So
Oh, I messed up my
Uh,
tracker. Oh, I'm disappointed. No.
importantly, that is Pittsburgh on match point. And I tell you what, man, like it's one thing for Elevate to have lost their map, but they're down 2-6 on map 2 here, and they're looking at basically taking no points away from this series. That has not happened to them so far in Six Masters. They've at least grabbed some
Attackers need to
points
locate
each
and
week.
defuse bombs.
This would be the first week of the entire league where they would be taking 0.
Man. Yeah, that... I mean, we raised that prospect earlier in the night. I didn't really think that we'd find ourselves in this position, but now we're staring down the barrel of that occurring. Elevate need to win 4 rounds straight to head this to OT, and that's looking pretty unlikely. I mean, the Knights have been quite dominant so far here. And they're attacking half. Elevate just not really having any answer at the moment.
10 seconds to insertion.
And something we talked about a lot in the Kanga series was the impact of no bakes into their roster and how that was working out. And I feel like maybe we haven't put much of a spotlight on Josh. And Knights have been playing fantastic with Josh in their roster, in this series at least. And Josh himself has actually been playing pretty well. I just saw on the scoreboard. He's actually 8-3 in this map. So, I mean, that seems like it's working out fantastically. I would love to be talking to Strider in the interview, maybe picking his brains a little bit about how Josh is integrated into their roster. But this result is potentially huge for Knights. Really could get them super deep into playoff contention. And to take 2 maps off Elevate is a pretty big deal.
Definitely will be a big deal, but they need to seal that deal. Find around here. Looking to gather some control above. Was that Worthy on the top floor? I may have misseen that, but Dino could find himself in trouble. No, Worthy is down below, so I am in fact blind. Hayward, though, he's not. He finds red. And that will make it a 5-on-4 in favor of the Knights.
That's starting off strong again. Elevator just trying to make things happen here. Ooh, Digital almost caught on that rotate through the train. Juicy just missing those shots. This is just looking on the nice edge to Elevate here. The Knights just feel like they are just this close to securing it. Mars has something else to say about it. Gets the C4 onto Dino. Is the man on fire. Does keep Elevate in it just a touch.
I thought for a second that Hayward hit that, but no, it was actually Juicy finally finishing off Digital. Gold Legion gets one back. It's now a 3-on-3. Oh, Strider absolutely deletes Worthy, and it's now a 3-on-2. Strider manages to avoid dying to those shots. Fast and Gold Legion left to try and clutch this round out. The Knights looking to take 6 points tonight, and it's looking more and more possible. Vast now left all alone inside of Laundry. Finds one. That's his double for the round. Can he find another? That is the question. He's lit up. He's one shot. The Knights should close out this round and should take home full points. Juicy will go for the plant. Hayward left to cover. He's ready and waiting for either angle.
Activating the bomb diffuser.
Fast lets it go down, and now he needs to retake. Surely this round is not winnable here for Elevate. And Vice will be shut down. The Knights will close out Kafe. 7-2. What a performance there by Pittsburgh, and they will take 6 points this evening. That is massive.
Huge. This is a big series for the standings right here. I tell you what, I am excited to see updated standings after this. And look, let's not take anything away from Knights. They played really well tonight. They totally showed up against Elevate. In fact, ever since round 4 on Kafe, they did not lose a round.
Nuts. No one in the Snowball Esports predictions predicted the Pittsburgh Knights to take both maps tonight, and I think that really shows just how hard it is to predict these matchups and how close they are. But as you mentioned, the Knights absolutely played out of their skin tonight, and full props. They definitely deserve the 6 points this evening.
Yeah, and what often happens when results like this occur is people will shine the spotlight or put the magnifying glass on the team that had the high expectations. So we could critique Elevate, like what's going on with them, all this kind of stuff, but Pittsburgh showed up. The Knights played really well, and Elevate struggled to adapt to that. Border they were in touch with, but Kafe, just Knights completely ran away with it.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got Akami next week. If you had have asked me heading into this matchup this evening, will the Knights take it up to Akami? I probably would have said no, expecting them to lose to both Elevate and Akami, or maybe draw each series. But now, that's again shaping up to be such a close series, which it continues to build upon this trend that we're seeing so far in this season.
Yeah, and man, Six Masters has been such a good tournament to watch. Like all the upsets and the close matchups and the way the standings are shaping up is super exciting. And it's only going to get all the more exciting over the next few weeks because, as we said at the start of the night, we are over the halfway point. There is only a few weeks left of matches. So teams like Elevate need to be securing points, and they just simply failed to do so tonight.
And I know we don't want to put Elevate under the microscope too much, but them not taking any points tonight, let's be real, that's going to have a massive impact on where they sit in the standings. We'll see them updated later, but like, it's desperate hours for them now. If they can't really afford to lose any more maps from now on, or they could be done for.
Yeah, and we've said it a lot. Their final opponents are Wildcard and Akami. So they don't have an easy run home. And the fact that the pressure is on now for them to be getting as many points out of both of those series as possible, that's going to be a huge factor. And especially against Wildcard, they're a team that's probably going to be going into that series feeling not much pressure because they're way out in front right now.
Well, someone that I know will be very happy tonight is Strider. We have the interview ready and waiting. Let's say good day. Strider, 6 points
G'day,
tonight, brother.
boys.
Well done. What a night.
It does feel good to get some points on the board.
How you feeling, man? That was a pretty long series in the end, but well fought out.
Wow. Yeah. So they were definitely one of our biggest rivals going into this whole competition. We knew it was going to be tough, and even practicing for the way that they play was quite difficult. But we knew that we were on the win because for the first week, I think out of all the weeks, I think we won the toss. So, you know, we're feeling the win from the beginning.
Good omens. I like it. Look, let's talk a little bit about, I really want to ask you about Josh. I mean, this was your first play day with him. And you guys really showed up. So maybe tell us about his role, how he's fitting in, and whatever you can share.
Yeah, so, I mean, everyone knew that we were playing with Arlo up until this point, and he was filling in while Josh wasn't 18 at the time. Now he's 18, he's with Core. His role is very much a flex position, and he's very good at that. Tonight really showed that he's ready to step up for the big stage. So we're really happy about the way he played. I mean, he's still learning. I mean, by no means he's new to the game, so he knows how to hold his own. But within our team environment, he's quite new. But we've been playing with him for a while now, so we're really happy with that. But yeah, definitely a special mention to Arlo. Back in the day, I used to play with Arlo, so it's always good to see his voice again.
And look, you guys, we're keen to see updated standings. You probably already know exactly where you might be, but you're really in a great position now to finish in playoff contention. Is that the expectations that you guys had for yourselves at the start of the season, or where was your head at coming into Six Masters?
Yeah, definitely. We thought we were a bit higher up in the rankings, but definitely against some of our biggest rivals as well, like Sinister, we just didn't quite show up. So we felt as though tonight was a big turning point for us, and really happy about the way that we performed now that we can push ourselves up the rankings a bit more.
Awesome. Well, Strider, again, congratulations for tonight. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, boys. I'll catch you later.
Happy chappy. Can't blame him. 6
Yeah.
points in the bank. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, boy, did he have a massive grin when his camera popped up. And look, I don't blame him. Like that was it wasn't just the fact that they got 6 points. I mean, just the context of that series was a really big deal for that team. So yeah, they've set themselves up for a great run towards playoffs now. I think it's going to be tough to count them out of finishing top 4 if that's how they can show up with this roster. They do have some tough opponents ahead, such as Okami. So anything could happen at this stage.
I mean, even now, I wouldn't be ruling them out of even finishing top 2, for example. I mean, that's definitely on the cards after beating Elevate. So, as you mentioned, like literally anything is possible. We could even envision a scenario where Pittsburgh somehow fall out of the 4, even like I don't want to jinx them, but like we just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point as well. Pittsburgh could have, this could be their best. They could be peaking right now in 6 Masters. Maybe they do just flunk and they don't win a map for the rest of the season. That is totally a possibility. The way things are playing out, I don't want to call it like a coin flip, but it is so hard to predict, man. And I mean, like, it's cool that we get to do predictions each week, but it has been tough.
Yeah, it really has been. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think anyone tonight got that second matchup correct. We had, I think everyone maybe bar Jess, who voted for the voted for the draw rather. So literally no one got it right. Again, proving that either we're really bad at our jobs or it's really hard to predict. Probably a little bit of both. Yeah. Anyway, it's time to move on. We have Digital on the line from Elevate. Let's say g'day.
Hey boys.
G'day, Dig. Unfortunately, probably not the way you guys wanted that one to pan out. Maybe talk us through how you're feeling after that match.
Yeah, I don't feel good at all. I don't think any of the boys are feeling any sort of. We're just gutted, really. Like, you got to win those, and we really didn't. We just got too worried, and it's never a good feeling. But yeah, you just got to move on, I guess.
All right, we'll start off with Border. Talk us through that. I mean, you chose Border. Maybe tell us the rationale behind taking them to Border, given that they had a really good match up against Okami in Pro League last year. And then maybe just talk us through like what started going wrong for you guys.
Like in Border, we just like our first half was just like terrible. Like we just didn't like just have that crossfight with it, like, and we didn't like sort of adapt to what they want to do. Like they wanted to go office one round and they wanted to push security, but we're not calming what they're doing to enable us to like help each other. And if it is, it's like too late or too late. So it was on us. Like our defense was horrible and it put us into a really tough half. We sort of tried to bring it back on our attacks. Obviously the bunch of rehosts, I won't say killed us in the end, but it was definitely like wearing us out a bit, I guess, but you can't blame them on that. And then we just lost both overtime rounds, which put us in like a really bad state for the next map up.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be my next question is like coming into Kafe, was the mindset like a really big factor in how that map ended up playing out?
Yeah, like normally, obviously if you just won a map, you go into the map nice, confident. And if you just lose a map, you go into the next map, sort of trying to like, right your wrongs. But there was definitely a bit of a mood change. We're a bit gutted. We tried to, like, especially after the 2 rounds, we needed to really switch on. And then we just kept getting picked, and yeah, it was just, it was like a snowball. It just went to, just 2-7. Like it's not a good feeling, man.
Well, did you guys Elevate in the poll had pretty strong support? What do you want to say to all the fans out there?
Well, this is just a bump in the road. We know like the issues that we have. We know what they are. They're easy fixes. It's just up to us to change it. So, I mean, no harm to the other teams, but I don't want to give respect to what they're doing because it's our wrong. Like we're doing the wrong. So it's not like our opposition played awesome. It's just that we're playing bad. So we're gonna try and fix our wrongs and really win for the people supporting us in chat. I know there's heaps of people that are supporting us. I know Auntie's there. Shout out to Auntie, free Auntie. Just catch us next week. We're not losing.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you next week, Didge. All the best, mate.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
Oh. It's not,
Yeah,
it's not fun
tough.
seeing Didge sad. Yeah, that was pretty rough. I knew it was going to be a rough one. You can't blame him. I mean, just nothing really clicked tonight. And yeah, hopefully they can fix it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to be going 1-1s, which was some of the series that they had for Six Masters, but to have the 2-0 against them it's not a familiar feeling for that team. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to think about many occasions where they've been 2-0. The last time I can think of was against Wildcard in Pro League, and that's probably it.
Well, it's been a big night of Siege. Let's recap all of the results so we can have a quick catch up. Up first, it was Sinister who did take down Kanga 2-0, followed by Elevate and Pittsburgh, where the Knights managed to come out on top.
And man, they've been both great series. 2-0s, I think when you look at the schedules like this, it never does it justice. I mean, there was overtime maps in both of these series. They were fantastic to watch, and it just reinforced the fantastic season we have had as Six Masters. I can't emphasize that enough.
Well, Raven and I keep banging on about how important the standings are. Let's have a look at the updated standings after all of the matches tonight.
Oh
boy, is it seeing a shake-up.
boy, oh boy, has it. Man, this could change dramatically over the next few weeks. Keep an eye on it, but Elevate down into 5th all of a sudden. I mean, they were toe-to-toe with somebody in 2nd place. I believe it was Okami on 15. They've now dropped 3 places after tonight. Pittsburgh Knights have skyrocketed into 3rd. Great effort from them. And Wildcard are probably just sitting on the top laughing now because all it takes is a couple more map wins and they're going to be secure in that top 4.
Yeah, Wildcard will definitely be looking to try and cement their spot. And then, I guess, looking at the opposite end of the standings, unfortunately for all of the Kanga fans out there, they were unable to get a map win tonight. They were very close. They took a map to overtime, but it wasn't quite enough. So they will still be trailing by a significant margin, and they realistically are the one team that can't make the playoffs. So F's in the chat for Kanga, unfortunately. It's been a bit of a rough one for them.
It has, but like we were saying earlier, I think for them at this stage, it's all just about keeping an eye on their form and just taking the positives and working from strength to strength. Tonight was no doubt their best evening they've had all Six Masters.
Now, Raven, as we start to conclude the show, maybe talk to us about Late Night Siege. It's your podcast, you and Dev. Talk us through what we can sort of expect.
Yeah, so again, like we were talking about in the rehost, Late Night Siege is on every Friday night from 8 o'clock AEST, so 8 o'clock Sydney time. We'll be talking about map tips, operator tips. We'll have a special guest on that will help us through it and talk about Six Masters as well. So join in, have some fun, ask some questions in chat because we do have a Q&A section.
Well, that concludes Six Masters for this evening. Keep in mind, there are no matches tomorrow night of Six Masters. We'll see you guys again next week, same time, same place. Until then, stay safe and good night.
No pulse and all alone. Time's not kind and it won't let go. No thoughts left in my head. My mind's online and it won't forget. But you bring me back from my darkness black. Cause the soul in me and the heart I have for you. It bleeds for you, it beats again. Oh, you bring me